Hello everybody and welcome to the second round of the 2004 Formula 1 Championship. I'm joined with Nils Hartl in the commentary booth.
Hello everybody.
And we are here for the race at the Sepang International Circuit in Kuala Lumpur, a track that's been a firm favourite with the drivers since its inaugural race back in 1999. 56 laps ahead of us, but we also have an hour qualifying session. Welcome in everybody, welcome in Parked on the Apex, Jean Todt and Flavio Briatore, all combined into one. We've got Jack as well, we've got Benny, Jeffrey, Sene, and or 17, as well as Kyo Kiri. Welcome in everybody. Got an exciting race today, as if you missed the last stream, I would suggest checking that one out at some point. But if you did miss it, you missed out on quite an interesting race where we saw that Giorgio Pantano took quite a commanding victory ahead of David Coulthard and Rubens Barrichello. Were there any surprises for you in that race, Nils?
Definitely the pace of the BAR of Coulthard. The time slot in the preseason suggested that they would be close, but I wouldn't have thought ahead of the season that we were close to the podiums, seeing their recent downturn in performance. But clearly the Audi partnership helped them regain their strength from earlier seasons.
Yeah, as well, if you missed the Discord notification as well, you'll clearly see that we actually had not one, but two drivers disqualified from the race following scrutineering, with both Montoya in third and Riccardo Sbarifico in 11th, I think he got, both being disqualified for their rear wings being too low. Massive blow for the Williams and Toyota teams, especially with Williams, as they did not look on the pace one bit, and a solid result for them, taken away from them in quite a dramatic circumstance, I would say.
Especially seeing as it was Montoya again. Montoya usually being the one who is on the unluckier side of the Williams garage. But Sbarifico also had a decent debut race for Toyota, but was more in the infield battle with the Panoses, where some interesting interesting comments were made by the Panos team boss later on in the paddock, but we will not go into that too much.
Some more news to come before the Malaysian Grand Prix is that home driver Alex Young has replaced Thiago Monteiro for the second round. Provisionally, he's on a race-by-race contract, as was Thiago Monteiro, but yeah, a shocking transfer to see Alex Young return to the grid. Definitely financially motivated by the team. But maybe this is how desperate Minardi are and how cash-strapped they are. He's alongside Zsolt Baumgartner for this race weekend. What were your thoughts on this when the news broke, Nils?
As you already mentioned, it is quite literally a testament to Minardi's current financial situation, but seeing the FP1 lap times of Young compared to Zsolt Baumgartner, he's actually quite close, so he could give the Hungarian actually a run for his money if he gets more track time in.
And as we go into the practice times, here they are. Unlike in Melbourne, where we saw Renault with the upper hand, it was actually Ferrari with a comfortable 1-2 ahead of Giorgio Pantano, championship leader, in third. Fernando Alonso really struggling with his car in practice. He was down in sixth behind the two McLarens. As Nils was talking about earlier, we saw, despite them both being outside of the top 27 and comfortably far off the pace, the two Minardis were fairly closely matched in pace, with Alex Young just under a tenth away from the Hungarian. We also saw a number of test drivers coming in, including Tom Coronel for the BAR. He showed good in 11th place, as well as Heikki Kovalainen, nearly matching the pace actually of his experienced teammate Jenson Button, as well as Yuji Ide for the Brabham team. But without further ado, let's hop straight into... Oh, I've messed it up. Hang on once. Just gotta... Professional stream. Anyway, welcome in to more people such as James. I missed your message before, as well as Scissor. Oh, why is professional stream right here? Absolutely professional stream. We've also got Sampas as well as Brian. Welcome in, everybody.
A demanding mix of slow and medium speed turns. This dedicated motorsports facility
There we
is
go.
the first of a new
Qualifying.
Now we can start, yeah.
Professional stream right here. Anyway. So I imagine that one might see a bit different of the pecking order, at least, especially with the Sepang International Circuit much more favourable towards straight line speed and engine power. Teams such as Opel and Red Bull could benefit from such track characteristics.
Definitely, and seeing how the Ferraris were quick also doing the free practice session, they could have probably the top package in terms of top speed and aero compared to Renault.
And of course, we also have to never stop believing in McLaren, of course, especially when Kimi Raikkonen, I believe, pretty much shocked us all. I didn't see it coming when Kimi Raikkonen scored that amazing pole position in Australia. Unfortunately, his race unfolded as early as lap 2 when he got in a tangle with Fernando Alonso and had to make a decent recovery drive, albeit only to 5th place.
Definitely the Finn showing his immense talent that he has, but he needs to hope that the race this time around goes more his plan. Also hope that McLaren lasts the distance again.
Yeah, a good reliability showing from the McLaren team. Actually, we didn't see many mechanical retirements at the front of the field. The only real big retirement that we saw was Jarno Trulli crashing out from the race lead after this man on our screens currently, Takuma Sato, got in a bit of a kerfuffle with I believe it was Nicolas Menassin he was trying to overtake at the turn 11-12 chicane, and caught the back of him and took basically half of his car off on the left-hand side. Fortunately, both drivers are okay to continue for this race weekend, but it must be a big blow for Jarno Trulli's confidence, as he's been I imagine he's quite frustrated at this point in his Ferrari tenure. 2 times he has been championship runner-up. Once to Michael Schumacher in 2002, and again to his brother Ralf Schumacher in the same team in 2003. Surely he'll be hoping to at least get a decent result on the board, a good handful of points to try and get his championship campaign underway.
Definitely, he was tipped as one of the title favorites again before the start of the season. The talent usually goes quick around this type of circuit, as also showing off his immense talent that he has. But you might want to think also that Barrichello needs to up his game, seeing as he was quite far behind his teammate in the equal machinery, and actually struggled also against BAR and Williams of Montoya.
Yeah, as welcome in, Jake. Hope your day's going well. Another thing we've got to consider is the fact that Kimi Raikkonen has been so far the faster driver out of the 2 you maybe have to consider down at McLaren. Obviously, Michael Schumacher did get the upper hand of him in the race itself, but throughout practice in Australia, a lot of pre-season testing, as well as qualifying in Australia and practice here, Raikkonen's had the upper hand. Maybe it's a change of the guard down at McLaren.
It could also just be down to Michael focusing more on his setup work for the race setup, seeing as you have to lock in your setups before qualifying, and him setting up the car before the race instead of qualifying.
So, rounding the final corner for Takuma Sato, he's going to set the benchmark for us, a 1:37.3, a fairly decent lap on the board, although Kimi Raikkonen over 1.5 seconds as he enters the 3rd sector.
Finn clearly on a fast lap again, showing his immense pace, as well as Alex Young, the local boy, on his first lap since 2001,
2002 he last drove in
2002.
Minardi, where he did a majority of the season, but was occasionally dropped for Anthony Davidson. It was Kimi Raikkonen across the line, 2.2 seconds faster than the Honda driver. He goes just over a 1 minute 35, 1 minute 35.1 to be precise. Alex Young will be the next driver to cross the line. He'll be, obviously, the only hope for Minardi is to qualify for races, but we haven't really seen much of an improvement between Australia and Malaysia, but rumours are circling that they are fetching some form of a drag reduction upgrade, which could prove to be useful for them, but hopefully they haven't used too much of their finance to develop the part, as they will struggle in the long term.
Oh, definitely, but every little update to this car, which is definitely down on power and lacks aero, is a major step forward for them. Could see them help jump into qualifying main race sessions as well.
As we see, Jenson Button actually went to second place on the grid. Montoya will be a driver with a bit of a chip on his shoulder as he goes to second place, 8 tenths away from pole position currently. His teammate Alexander Wirtz has not looked very strong in that 2004 Williams. The Walrus Nose, as it's been dubbed, not really serving his driving characteristics well. It continues here. He's actually 3 seconds off the pace. Whether he made a mistake or not, we do not know, but that's over 2 seconds slower than his teammate.
Looks like he lost a lot of time through the middle sector, maybe encountered some traffic there, but clearly the 2001 world champion struggling in his Williams, as Dan Weldon is now finishing up his first flyer.
Dan Weldon, with a fairly decent debut, finished 9th on the road, but thanks to Juan Pablo Montoya's disqualification, he actually scored a point on his first race for BAR, and also, coincidentally, his first point in his Formula 1 career after he did a season with the Audi team last season. Across the line for the Briton, and he slots himself between Montoya and Button to go into third place.
Next up would be probably Justin Wilson, is it, right?
No,
actually
he's
on
just
out
come
lap,
out.
so it's Nick Heidfeld starting his lap then. Who had an unfortunate race last time around, seeing as he collided with his teammate Antonio Pizzonia on the opening lap.
Yeah, Antonio Pizzonia did apologise to his teammate, but it's certainly not what, coincidentally, the co-commentator Nils Hartl, also known as the Brabantino owner, needs, especially with his car and his new driver joining the team, replacing Sebastian Bourdais for this season.
As Heidfeld finishes up the first sector, actually only 1/10 down on Kimi Raikkonen, which is quite respectable.
Obviously, quite comparative to see Heidfeld so close to Kimi Raikkonen, of course, both cars with the same power plant in the back of their cars, both Mercedes 110Qs in the back of their cars, as Heidfeld about halfway through his lap at this point. He'll be looking to actually out-qualify his teammate Antonio Pizzonia, as the German barely actually scraped through into the race. He was 26th out of the qualifiable 26, as he's just over a second down through that first sector.
Clearly the lack of arrow on that Brabham showing its mark through the middle sector, but here comes the trump card, probably for the team with the Mercedes engine down to the last corner, the hairpin, which is a good overtaking spot for the race. Invites great overtaking opportunities also into turn 1, as Heidfeld now finishes up his lap and goes 5th fastest. Quite a decent lap, ahead of Takuma Sato and Alexander Wirtz.
Yeah, a good lap indeed, as Jarno Trulli, purple through the first sector. He's 3 tenths up on provisional pole sitter Kimi Raikkonen, as we just looked there with Brabham, it has come to light that Mugen Honda have indeed pulled out of Formula 1 after not securing an engine deal with any team in 2004. They will halt their development with engine supply. Quite a shame to see, as they have often been seen as one of the best underdogs that we've seen in terms of engine manufacturers. Of course, 2 race wins for them in their history, coming in the 1996 Monaco Grand Prix with Ligier and the 1998 British Grand Prix with Jordan.
Yeah, definitely. Also a quite fitting swan song last season with Brabham in Japan getting one final point scoring before having no engine deal this season, as Jarno Trulli is now going purple for the first and second sector, coming up to the final corner. Justin Wilson goes 8th fastest on the road, 4.9 seconds down.
Jarno Trulli up towards the line. Where will this put him? It'll put him to P1, a second and a half ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, stretching his legs at the front. He's really trying to prove his point here in Malaysia after such a disappointing end to his Australian Grand Prix weekend, and a great lap sees him comfortably ahead of the rest. Next car to cross the line, he's currently now crossing the second sector split, is Felipe Massa, who did very well in practice. He was 10th place in the Red Bull, with his teammate Mark Webber down in 13th. So maybe a shot maybe at points for the Red Bull team if chaos once again unfolds ahead of them.
Definitely, they have one of the best engines on the grid with the Lamborghini V10 in the back, but the aero is the thing that is hampering them a bit, as Massa goes 4th fastest at the moment. So if they can have some reliability problems for other teams, or maybe some crashes again, they could profit from that. As Ralf Schumacher is now doing his first flyer, the reigning world champion.
Scissors asks, how many manufacturers have we had in the series thus far? Well, we've had a number of engine manufacturers that weren't normally in this series, or compared to real life at least. We had Peugeot extend until the end of 2002 with Prost. Honda have also been a team since 2000, similar to how they were planning to join in. It was either 1999 or 2000 with Jos Verstappen, I believe it was.
99
at the team. Yep, 99. Okay. As well as Lamborghini, they joined BAR back in 2000, and for this season, 2004, have moved over to the Red Bull Sauber team in an effort to try and find a bit more pace, as the Lamborghini engine did secure a couple of victories in 2000 and 2001, but since then it has been a bit dry on the silverware front, and as such they believe that Sauber, or Red Bull Sauber, could bring them more fortune in the future.
All victories for Lamborghini with BIR, I think, were courtesy also of the reigning world champion, who goes into 8th position behind Nick Heidfeld, Ralf Schumacher, who probably already is debating if he made the right choice with joining Honda, seeing their current pace.
Yeah, so in this series, the 2000 lineup at Honda was, I forgot who it was, Mika Salo, who scored a victory actually for Honda, their only victory so far since their return, alongside Jean Lacey, who by and large had the measure over his Finnish teammate, but obviously Salo picked up that amazing result, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to actually keep him at the team. He had to settle for a McLaren test and reserve driver role, in which he filled until 2002, where he joined the Dams team in their first season in the sport.
Correct, as Joel Baumgartner is finishing up his first lap. The Hungarian struggling with the Minardi package, but where can he go compared to his teammate? Actually, David Coulthard is on the back of him, so Coulthard's lap is also compromised. 11.7 seconds down is the Hungarian at the moment.
Not a good lap at all. He's 4 seconds down on Alex Young right now, which is big trouble if you're a Jolt Baumgartner fan for him, as if this form currently continues, obviously we've only seen one run so far, could be problem stations down at Minardi, as maybe they have got the wrong driver on a on a race-by-race contract in Thiago Monteiro. Baumgartner on a season-long deal with the team. But I imagine that if push comes to shove, Baumgartner could be out the team if he doesn't essentially get better results. But so could the sponsorship money that comes with the Hungarian signature.
Correct. As there are some more questions in chat, has there been any rumblings of other manufacturers joining Nissan or Mazda, for example? I think I asked for Nissan when we did that, but
Yeah, I don't think there are any manufacturers wanting to join in the pipeline. Obviously, the FIA, with that massive amount of teams and drivers entering the sport in 2003, was the last time we saw any entrance into the sport. But as of right now, we've got no more engine manufacturers joining as of late.
also Sampas, yes, AsiaTech is part of the series as well. They are the engine supplier of Boutsen, I think, for the rest of this season.
Yeah, they are. As Riccardo Sperafico is another driver who had a bit of doubt around him in pre-season testing. Many thought why he was signed by Toyota in the first place, but he had a fairly decent qualifying in Australia. Actually out-qualified his teammate Jacques Villeneuve, who's stepping in for Giancarlo Fisichella for the first part of this season. Didn't finish ahead of him, finished in 9th and was disqualified following scrutineering.
Definitely, I was a doubter of the Brazilian as well before the start of the season, but he somewhat rectified his position in the team. Quite unfortunate that he got disqualified at the end, but he can maybe actually improve on his performance from Australia around the Sepang International Circuit, as he is approaching the final corner now as well.
Yeah, Toyota.
Yeah,
sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry. Fisichella is still out because of injury that he got in Japan.
Yeah. So I'd say Toyota is probably one of those teams that has jumped up the most in this season, obviously being fairly average last season, lower midfield-ish, although with Fisichella he did put in a good amount of performances. I believe 2 or 3 podiums he got last season, including a season's best second place at the Monaco Grand Prix. But if you know about F1 Challenge, then Monaco is always an exciting race. But it seems like as a team they seem more complete, especially with Antonio Pizzonia leaving, who did not score that many points in the first half of the season, certainly picked it up through the second half and eventually joined Brabham for this season.
Yeah, Fisichella got 2 third places, which were more respectful representative of his actual pace in Portugal and Monza, seeing but Monza was also a quite chaotic race last season. But clearly the Italian who joined from Ferrari has some good technical input for this season's car. As Trulli is out on track again.
Oh, my bad. He's actually just had to deal with, I believe that's Shinji Nakano in the boots and AsiaTech there. So this might be a bit of a dud lap for the Italian. We'll see as he enters the second sector split. Yeah, he's a second down, which is a bit of a shame for him. He lost a good amount of time as Jenson Button improves on his lap time to eke just ahead of Rubens Barrichello, who has also set his first lap time. Button and Barrichello separated by just under half a tenth.
Benoit Trulli finishes his first lap time 3.4 seconds down on current pole setup Jarno Trulli, as Montoya is improving through the first sector.
We'll see if Jarno Trulli can make anything work in this final sector to put him any further ahead of the rest of the field. He fails to do so, and that is still provisional pole for him, albeit he could definitely go faster in that Ferrari. Meanwhile, the Colombian, certainly with a, as I said, a chip on his shoulder, disqualified in Australia, and he'll be hoping to bounce back. He's got the measure on his teammate so far, Alexander Wirtz, but maybe suggesting that the Austrian made some form of mistake to be over 2 seconds off his teammate after those first runs. Montoya across the second sector split, we can't actually see if he is improving, but we know that he's down in the second sector, or at least on Jarno Trulli's time. So we'll see how it compares to the pole sitter. Jarno Trulli, as we see there, dominant in the first, dominant in the second, and easily dominant in the third sector.
Yeah, as also Fernando Alonso is now out on circuit as well, probably on his out lap. The Spaniard clearly is a championship favorite ahead of this season, as Montoya slots on in second position, 1.5 seconds down on Trulli. Actually, where the fuck do I wanted to go there? Shit. As Nakano's now coming down to this tricky right-hander here.
Yeah, a bit frustration bubbling over down at Boutsen. Obviously, they knew it was going to be a bit of a struggle to get into qualifying all the time, but they weren't expecting to be so comprehensively beaten in such a way that they were in Australia. Both cars exiting in the qualifying session from the race weekend. We'll see if their fortunes can turn around, but Shinji Nakano 6.5 seconds off the pace after the first run sees him in 20th place ahead of only the Minardis, albeit only half a tenth away from Justin Wilson in front. Fernando Alonso now in turn 9. We'll see if the Spaniard can match at least Juan Pablo Montoya on this first run and get onto the front row. He's 2 tenths down through the first 2 sectors, so he should be on for at least a good enough lap to slot him onto the front row.
Yeah, as Nakano was one of the drivers last time around in Australia, hampered by reliability problems during qualifying session. I think he only did 1 flying lap or 2 flying laps at the end of the session, so he didn't really stand a chance of getting a fair shot at qualifying. As Alonso is now finishing up his lap, goes in second position, 4 tenths down on Jarno Trulli. Good first flyer for the Spaniard.
Benoit Charlier currently on a lap. He's done fairly well actually in his first run. He's up in 11th place and is around some of the established teams. We'll see if we can find an improvement. He does to get himself into the top 10 in that Rose Toyota car. He is just ahead of Dan Weldon and behind Felipe Massa, as Alex Wirtz currently on a lap, as well as Mark Webber, who's currently in the drop zone. Obviously one of 7 drivers who have not completed a lap so far. He'll soon to be 6 when he rounds this final corner and powers his way up towards the line in the Lamborghini powered machine, and that is 15th place for him, just behind Takuma Sato.
That's 1 second down on Jarno Trulli, so massive improvement there through the second sector, greatly implying that he was being held up or made a mistake there. Final corner now. To the line goes the 2001 world champion and slots in 3rd position, ahead of his teammate by half a tenth.
Quite promising there for Alex Wirtz, despite being considerably far off from the pole time. It's a decent sighting, at least for him, to be beating his teammates for what seems to be at least the first time this season provisionally, as Patrick Friesacker will be rounding that final corner. Obviously moved from Sauber after surprisingly being dropped, even though he did score more points than teammate Felipe Massa. His lap is good enough to take him all the way up to 16th in the Boutsen, just ahead of Mark Webber. A decent banker lap for him. So quite surprising to see Patrick Friesacker obviously at or close to the back of the field, especially when he scored that amazing 4th place finish at Monza. He was also within a fair shot of maybe even scoring a podium last season in Monaco, but unfortunately the engine, I believe, gave way in that race to the Ferrari powered car. He'll be hoping to make at least a name for himself in Boutsen, try and establish himself as a team leader, and see where his career moves from there on out.
It could be also quite a blessing in disguise for him, taking away the limelight from him, seeing as Red Bull became the Lamborghini factory team, so he can establish himself in the lower midfield and maybe help a team establish themselves in the lower midfield as well. Coulthard now up to the line, improves to 6th position, 1.5 seconds down on Jarno Trulli. Friesacker is doing 2 consecutive laps actually.
He is. So we'll go back to the Austrian. see what he's capable of doing. Improving in the first sector, down in the second sector as Jacques Villeneuve. Also pretty comparative actually to the Austrian through that first sector, about a tenth ahead of the Boutsen. Rounding the final corner now and up towards the line. He's got a gearbox failure on the exit of the final corner. It's going to ruin his lap. And that's Patrick Friesacker with a failure to improve. A massive shame for him.
They really can't catch a break at Boutsen with the reliability problems. But
no, they've had a good amount of reliability problems already in this season. Certainly not good for team boss Thierry Boutsen, but the pace, at least the promise for Boutsen in this qualifying session, in the hands of Friesacker at least, is certainly looking half decent.
What I currently see is quite interesting is that Villeneuve is slower than Timo Glock through the first sector. Could also just be down to the Opel having superior straight line speed, but clearly the 97 world champion struggling with his Toyota. Up to the line goes the Canadian. Oh, never mind, he's up in 7th, 2.5 seconds down on his first flying lap, I think. Yeah. But Timo Glock is down 2.4 seconds through the middle sector.
Glock is a driver that does need a lap time currently. Finds himself 5th bottom of those that have set a lap time so far. We've not seen any lap from Schumacher, Pantano or Pedro de la Rosa as we head near to halfway through qualifying. Timo Glock exiting the final corner. Fortunately for him, he will not have a gearbox failure and will improve on his lap time. Glock up to 14th, just ahead of Nick Heidfeld.
As Jenson Button made a mistake through the middle sector or encountered traffic because he's 5 seconds down in the middle sector. Quite a big margin.
Maybe could have been held up by Patrick Friesacker and his gearbox problems. I believe he has overtaken him on this lap, and I don't think the Briton will see an improvement. But the Jaguar up in 8th place right now, fairly decent from him, especially considering I believe the first qualifying session Button was all the way down in 19th with his teammate, I know, was in 24th in the Jaguar. Certainly a far cry from their 2 race wins last season.
Oh, definitely. Seemingly with Pantano leaving the team, the performance of the car also left. Stan Weldon is now on his second flyer, encountering the Friesacker with a gearbox failure, so maybe can get held up in the middle last corner. Oh, it's Nakano. Oh, never mind then.
Rounded the final corner for Dan Weldon. A decent improvement. He was up by a second through the first 2 sectors and finds a bit more pace to go 7th fastest, just over half a tenth behind his teammate David Coulthard. Many expected him to be quite considerably far off the pace of his teammate in Australia. While he was in the race, at least qualifying seemed fairly promising for the young Briton.
Definitely, but as probably most people say in the paddock, you will have to perform in the races, not in the qualifying session. But then, well, first time around, he has a decent performing car actually under his belt in F1. As Nakano is now starting his second flyer.
But Nakano is definitely a driver that needs a lap time.
Definitely, but going back onto the Weldon point, he also is ahead of Jacques Villeneuve, who's highly rated, seeing as he's a former world champion, so quite a decent performance by Weldon.
Shinji Nakano may fall under trouble here with Dan Weldon, as the Japanese driver is up on his personal best by a second. He's down on Jarno Trulli through the first 2 sectors by 3 seconds, as he might be a bit distracted here by the BAR's antics. I believe Weldon's not actually on a lap, so he'll be a bit confused on why he's pushed so hard. But alas, through into the final corner for Nakano, exiting the final corner now. He's currently on a 1 minute 40.1, but this lap time, a 1 minute 38.6, sees him up to 23rd place. An okay amount of improvement, but he's over a second away from his teammate.
Probably lost a lot of time for the last sector with Dan Weldon in his rear mirror constantly. maybe missing his braking zone into the final corner.
Hello, remove YouTube handles. Hope your day is going well.
As Ralph Furman rounds the final corner, he also needs desperately an improvement. Goes up to P8. Actually, a pretty decent lap time from the Panos. Oh no, Loader Panos driver. Debs Loader Panos, sorry. There we go.
Heidfeld currently on a lap. He's half a second up on his personal best, and he'll be looking to be a bit more comfortable in this qualifying session, coming quite close, within about 2 or 3 tenths of being knocked out last time out in Australia, and especially being his car being handed to him on a silver platter by Antonio Pizzonia, quite considerably faster than him in that first qualifying session, but eventually all came undone when the two of them crashed together earlier on in the race. 12th place, though, for Nick Heidfeld, puts him directly behind the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello.
Definitely, as I always saw also that Kimi Räikkönen is up in on his time in the first sector, as Minassian slots ahead of his teammate, 5 attempts actually up on his teammate there, but Raikkonen's lap comes undone with Furman in his sides here, through the middle sector.
Nicholas Minassian is a race winner in this career mode, Casey, so he's a fairly decent midfield runner, but nothing more than that.
I feel like that made him sign in my thing.
Kimi Räikkönen forcing a bit of an overtake there on Ralph Furman. He dodges and goes into the pits, the Irishman, and out the final corner for Kimi Räikkönen. Sees an improvement of 6 tenths, which sees him improve by... sees him up to 3rd position, albeit he's over 5 tenths behind Fernando Alonso, nearly a second off pole position. Jarno Trulli really stretching his wheels at the front as Ralf Schumacher in the middle sector is looking for a healthy improvement in this first, well, now we're in the second half of this qualifying session, 29 minutes to go.
Ralf Schumacher up to turn 9, this awkward hairpin up the hill. A little bump there out of the exit there, up to turn 10. Actually turn 11. As Alonso is also improving for the first sector, only 100 down on Trulli, as Ralf Schumacher is 1.6 seconds down on the current pole sitter.
8 tenths up though through the second sector, might see him possibly bump up maybe within the top 10 if this last sector is good enough and displays Jacques Villeneuve in his position. Rounding the final corner now for the 2003 champion, and we'll see what the lap time is. 33, 34, 35, 36.1 does exactly as I said, 10th place for Ralf Schumacher.
Fernando Alonso still only just behind Jarno Trulli for the middle sector. Maybe the Renault can find some pace through the last sector and dethrone Jarno Trulli.
The Spaniard now coming to the final corner.
To the braking zone, as light on the brakes as he can possibly be. And running, coming up to the final coming up to the line, mind flop, and is nearly 1/10 behind, but decent improvement by the Spaniard.
Webber's also on a healthy improvement in the final sector. He's down in 20th place and is not entirely safe with his lap time just yet, although a good improvement here could possibly push him quite easily into the main race, and he does exactly that. Splits the two Dams Lola Panos and moves up into 9th position, 7 places ahead of his teammate.
Montoya also up through the first sector, now up in the middle sector, 1/10 up on his personal lap time, as Pedro de la Rosa is also finishing up his first flyer pretty late on in this session. But the Colombian wants to improve his lap time, could also see him improve ahead of his teammate. De la Rosa slots into 22nd position. We are still missing Michael Schumacher and Giorgio Pantano out on track. 2 heavy hitters still haven't graced us with their presence.
A tenth and a
That's
half improvement there from the Colombian sees him move back ahead of his teammate Alexander Wirtz after the first 2 runs from each of the drivers. Benoit Trollier on a second consecutive push lap, or maybe even third consecutive push lap for the
How much
Frenchman.
fuel have they put in that car? He's on the 3rd lap.
Is failing to improve for that first sector. We'll see how this second sector fares. We can't exactly see, as there's a time comparison in the way. Can you please move out of the way? That would be greatly appreciated.
As behind him is also Patrick Riesacker, who's on his next flying lap. He could also get an improvement, seeing as he had his gearbox failure through the final corner. Desperately needs it as well. He's not safe currently in P20, seeing as many quicker drivers behind him haven't set a lap time yet.
To the line for Trollier. Failure to improve remains in 17th. Riesacker, though, improving by half a tenth of a second. Not as good as the lap in which he had a gearbox failure in, but a good enough improvement to be 20th for now.
Only half a tenth off Sarto as well, so decent pace by the Austrian, as Antonio Pizzonia is now through the first sector, coming up to some traffic there ahead. Trollier now another lap. He's clearly doing some long runs in qualifying.
As Pizzonia is a driver currently down in 25th place, while he is a decent way ahead of the drop zone. He'll still be looking for a good enough improvement, especially with Michael Schumacher and Giorgio Pantano. When those guys go out, we'll be surely pretty safe in that regard. 1.2 seconds up through the first 2 sectors. Goodbye, Casey.
See him around Sparrow Fico currently stands, so P21, P20 around that ballpark, as Riesacker and Trollier both improving on the lap time, so maybe those two can shuffle up the orders a bit more. Running the final corner goes the Brazilian up to the line, with Wirtz starting his next flyer up to P19, 3.3 seconds off the current pole setter Yano Trolli. Trollier stays 17th, and Riesacker jumps ahead of Sarto, so good lap time by the Austrian.
Maybe this could be a lap good enough to possibly take him into the main part of qualifying. A driver who is on the bubble a little bit is Cristiano D'Amata, displaces Patrick Riesacker for 20th place, but still not a good lap in terms of his teammate comparatively. He's 7/10ths down on Jenson Button, and Jaguar have got a lot of work to do if they want to find themselves in qualifying on, well, a more comfortable basis at least. They seem pretty comfortable in terms of actually getting onto the grid, but it's not great for the Ford Works team to be barely making it onto Formula 1 grids.
Definitely, and also being out-qualified by their customer team, Dan, so not a good look for Jaguar. Also, not a good look for D'Amata, who left BAR at the end of last season, not getting his contract renewed, as Baumgartner still nearly 10 seconds down on the current lap time. But D'Amata really probably is a bit disappointed in the fact that he couldn't keep his seat at BAR, seeing as well and Coulthard have decent pace this season.
I'm not exactly sure what the timing's just done there, but it said Wirtz improved by 3 seconds. But if he did improve by 3 seconds, then he would have been on pole. Very clearly not the case, but an improvement nevertheless from the Austrian. But he stays in 5th place.
Fico is 1.3 seconds up through the middle sector on his personal lap time, as Jacques Villeneuve is also improving on his flyer. Pretty closely matched again, so Fico Eva is quite decent in the Toyota. Villeneuve has clearly lost his pace since he left F1 during the 1999 season. Up to the line goes the Brazilian and jumps up to P8. Decent performance by the Brazilian rookie.
I can't disclose such financial information, unfortunately.
wouldn't help him. Team owner he sits here actively listening if he says anything about money. Oh, Coulthard has a problem.
Coulthard, as Villeneuve goes to a big problem for David Coulthard indeed. As
Villeneuve up in 5th.
Yep, Villeneuve up quite far up the order, and Sperrifico up in 9th. So once again, the Toyotas really showing some good pace. We'll see what happened to David Coulthard. It was on the exit of the pits, it seems.
Maybe a brake failure into turn 1 or an engine failure locking the brakes.
We'll have to see, but the driver currently in 2nd in the championship, obviously, after scoring that great podium in the first race. Quite heavy into the barriers there. A lot of damage done to that car, and he'll have to get in the spare car if he can before the end of the session.
Good thing that those modern F1 cars are pretty safe now. If we had this type of accident in the 90s, we would probably see Coulthard out for a couple of races. As Baumgartner completes another lap, which he doesn't improve on. Ralph Furman is next up, actually.
Yes, indeed.
Improving for the first and middle sector up to the line.
I forgot where he is.
One up.
Yeah, there we go. He goes, improves by half a tenth of a second, but stays in 12th place. Rubens Barrichello disappointingly down in 15th right now, and sees himself nearly 3 seconds off the pace of his teammate in Jarno Trulli. Benoit Trulli, 20 minutes to go. He's finished qualifying. He's completed all of his 12 possible laps, and he finds himself in 18th. We'll see if he drops further down the order before the end of the session.
I mean, Trulli made like 10 laps in a row. Bit over-exaggerated, but he was out on circuit quite a long time, as Jung is also massively improving. Could see him maybe challenge Gigi Nakano and Pedro Della Rosa with this improvement.
He does improve.
Never mind.
Not by enough. Half a second improvement sees the Malaysian stay in 27th place. Rubens Barrichello, though, will be hoping to be a bit higher than 27th on the grid in his Ferrari. Currently 12 places higher right now, but he'll hopefully be trying to get himself at least into the top 8 for the starting grid. And does exactly that. Onto the front 2 rows as an improvement by 1.7 seconds. Sees him slot just between Raikkonen and Montoya.
As Giorgio Pantano is finally leaving the pit box.
Ralf Schumacher down marginally through the first 2 sectors as he tries to find enough time to at least jump ahead of Ralf Furman, who has entered the pits. Ralf Schumacher was probably hoping for a bit more of a competitive car in Honda for 2003, obviously making the move from his championship winning Ferrari of last year. It's not quite gone his way in the Honda just yet. I believe he was 12th place in Australia. He'll be hoping to at least get his name on the board with some points today, although failure to improve past 14th position will not be all too satisfying for the German. Kimi Raikkonen, master of qualifying so far in this season. He's in the middle sector currently, a 24.0, not quite purple through that first sector, but we'll see how this second sector fares in comparison to Trulli and Fernando Alonso. He's 9 tenths down despite being 3rd place, and through the second sector we can't actually see what his second sector time is, but he is improving through the first 2 sectors. Now through the penultimate corner, difficult braking zone, early as you can on the exits with the power, and you're now along straight in towards the final corner, heavy braking zone, and it's a left hairpin. Making his way now, clipping that apex nicely, getting out wide to the curbs and up towards the line for Kimi Raikkonen. And what will it be? It'll be a 1 minute 34.3, a 2/10 improvement, but still 7 tenths off the pole time.
Clearly still having good pace though, being ahead of the second Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello. But Takuma Sato, another driver who's desperately needing an improvement. He's 7 tenths up, nearly 7.5 tenths up through the middle sector as Giorgio Pantano completes his first sector of the session. And Osato up to the line. He probably is also under a lot of pressure, even though he's on a Honda factory driver, but he desperately needs some results, seeing as he got outclassed by every teammate he had in his short F1 career as of yet.
He's only had one teammate so far in the form of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, where he scored 1 point to Frenzen's, I believe, 15 points he scored, and a podium in the 2003 San Marino Grand Prix. Sato was actually on course for that podium, I believe, before an engine failure took him out of contention. But yeah, not great results so far in the 2002 F3000 Champions career so far, although a good qualifying lap there sees him in the top 15 and marginally behind world champion teammate Ralf Schumacher.
Spartano is around 7 tenths down through the middle sector on current pole setter Jarno Trulli. Still hasn't gone out on track anymore since setting his second flying lap, as Pantano is now in 4th. Nearly 1 second down on Jarno Trulli as compared here, as Felipe Massa is now on another flying lap. Brazilian down in 19th, needs an improvement just to be safe from the drop zone, even though not all too many more faster cars or more faster drivers are behind him. But you better be safe than sorry at the end.
Obviously, you want to be high up as you physically can on the grid, with his teammate up 6 places on him. Right now, I'll be hoping to at least get ahead of his teammate. He might just do that as he's 2/3 of a second up through the first 2 sectors as he looks to try and at least outqualify his teammate. I don't know if he actually did in Australia, but I know Mark Webber's race ended at the start line. Justin Wilson with a bit of problem on his car. We'll see what is wrong with it. Is it some form of gearbox failure?
Gearbox.
It is precisely a gearbox failure for Justin Wilson, and his run will come to a early halt. 12th place there for Massa as he improves by a whole second to move ahead of Nicolas Manassian.
Yes, as Pedro Dolorosa is quite close to Jan Trulli through the first sector, also probably down to the Opel engine again, being 1.1 seconds up in the middle sector. He is on the cusp, actually, of going down into the pit of not qualifying. The Spaniard who got
Sorry.
The Spaniard who got Opel's main points last season in San Marino, rounding the final corner.
Pedro de la Rosa will be hoping for a bit better of a qualifying session versus Australia, where he qualified down in 25th place and his teammate was up in 18th. Fortunately for him, a decent improvement's taken him to split the 2 Hondas in position number 17. Heidfeld on a lap himself, although he's failing to improve. I think he might have got held up a little bit by Justin Wilson's stricken Rose Motorsport car trundling around the circuit.
Same probably with Felipe Massa, who's got held up through the middle sector as well, so those 2 laps are already down the bin.
Yeah, there's no real driver out on circuit right now, but 13 minutes to go, and Michael Schumacher still not been out on circuit right now. Maybe some form of mechanical fault that they're trying to fix down at McLaren, but if push comes to shove, Michael Schumacher could be out of qualifying here.
Which would be a pretty big upset considering his talent, but if the McLaren doesn't fire up, he could maybe try to get into the spare car, but maybe even they have problems with with the spare car as well. So whatever is happening down at McLaren, they should sort it out pretty soon and get their number 1 driver out.
Felipe Massa on another lap. I believe that's 3 in a row now for Felipe Massa. He's down marginally through that first sector, as is Zsolt Baumgartner, as he looks to get a little bit closer to his teammate Alex Young, currently being out-qualified by him by 2.5 seconds. Not good viewing for the Hungarian, but Massa now coming towards turn 9 now.
Should see him improve, considering he was being held up by Justin Wilson through here in his last lap. Up to the sector line he goes, and is actually up by 2 tenths, nearly 2.5 tenths. Could see him improve by one position ahead of his compatriot Sperafico.
The new Red Bull team would really love to see maybe one of their cars crack the top 10 in qualifying, as Massa now barrels towards the final corner to complete another lap in this qualifying session, and now exiting the final corner on the curbs on the exit and up towards the line. For Massa, it'll be a 1 minute 35.3, which does see him not quite in the top 10 but decently close, 11th place for now.
Good lap time there as Baumgartner comes up to the line. Carlos also improving, but Baumgartner doesn't improve. He's still 10 seconds down. Timo Glock also doesn't improve on his position. Shinji Nakano next up. Desperately needs him up his game, as he's currently the driver under the threat of not qualifying in P26.
All eyes, though, on the garage right now, as Michael Schumacher, with just over 10 minutes remaining, not out on circuit right now. An improvement of 7/10 by Shinji Nakano is not enough to lift him out of the bottom 5 for now. What I imagine will be bottom 4, should Michael Schumacher get out on circuit, but is at least ahead of Justin Wilson as of right now. Riccardo Sperafico currently on a lap. He actually failed to improve there, as Nicolas Manassian being overtaken by Mark Webber on his push lap. Not what the Frenchman would want to see. I just think this is not going to be an improvement from the Dams Lola Panos driver up towards the line, and it's more than a second off. So a bit of a useless lap there from him. Jenson Button was up in the top 8 in the first part of this session, but has slowly slid down to 19th place and is struggling to find an improvement in the first and second sectors. Maybe if this last sector is good enough, he can maybe lift himself ahead of Takuma Sato. He doesn't, though. Less than a 10th down on his personal best, and tough times down at Jaguar, as I believe that should be Jenson Button's qualifying over and done with.
Definitely, as Jan Trulli is now out on track, and Michael Schumacher, finally they fixed the problem with the McLaren, is actually also leaving the pit lane. Hopefully the car lasts the distance on his flying lap then, and not suffers any mechanical problems. That would be his qualifying over then.
Yeah, Nakano is going to start sweating behind the visor, behind the wheel of that Boots and Energy Racing car, as he now sees Michael Schumacher enter the racing surface. Kimi Raikkonen, though, failed to improve and currently still in 3rd position.
As Giorgio Panton was also back out on circuit for his second run, so maybe
Looks like
the
all the
Italian
front
could...
runners are looking to try and get one last run in before the end of the qualifying session. Juan Pablo Montoya's got one in. He's failed to improve. He's still only 7th position, with his teammate now exiting the pit lane. Mark Webber, with the next car to cross the line in the Red Bull, didn't improve. Maybe a bit of hold up from someone, as he remains in 14th position. Cristiano D'Amata will be the next car to cross the line, who's down in 24th place. Is a bit close to the relegation places and will remain so, still only down in the bottom 7.
Bloomsbury Kettle next up, desperately needs to find an improvement to match his teammate actually. Up to the line goes the Brazilian, stays in 5th position, so he was being held up probably in the first sector, seeing his lap time, his split time through there.
Alonso currently on a lap through turn 9. He's down in the first sector, but a healthy second sector could put him within a good shout of possibly trying to claim pole position, as Jarno Trulli actually purple through the first sector. Fernando Alonso purple through the second sector. This could be anyone's game for pole position between Trulli and Alonso. Now rounding the penultimate corner for Fernando Alonso. Good apex speed there, and out the penultimate corner for the Spaniard. This could be a great chance for him to take his first pole position of the season. Now towards the final corner, what can he do? Brake late is all that you can do. Get the car turned in nice and quickly out on the exit curb. Use all the track space that you can and up towards the line. Power, power, power for Fernando Alonso. And he does not improve enough to go to pole position. Jarno Trulli, though, is flying. He's purple in the second sector after being purple in the first sector. And he's looking to extend his lead at the top of the standings.
Michael is around 1/10 down for the first sector on Jarno Trulli, as he desperately needs to complete this lap to at least qualify safely.
And out the final corner for Jarno Trulli. What will the time be? He'll improve, but by how much? Just over 1/10.5 for Jarno Trulli, as he now extends his pole time to 0.2 of a second ahead of Fernando Alonso. Michael Schumacher not exactly been keeping track of how far down he is on pole position, but as we saw in the first sector, he wasn't really matching the pace that of the lead Ferrari driver. Now into the final corner for the 5-time world champion, and he will possibly look to try and get himself maybe into the top 3. He does indeed get himself into the top 3, outqualifies his teammate, so it's 1-1 in the McLaren qualifying battle, and that now pushes Shinji Nakano into the drop zone, who is now exiting the pit lane. Justin Wilson and Alex Young both also out there to try and increase their chances of making it through, although I believe that the Minardi driver will not stand much of a chance. Giorgio Pantano's actually failed to improve on his lap, disappointing for him as he stays in 5th place, and so not so good for him.
It really is just a battle between the Bootsons and the Mata at this point, and maybe Justin Wilson, who qualifies in the last 2 spots. But Friesaka is not improving on his flyer, so maybe Friesaka gets pushed out by his teammates, seeing as Nakano could improve still. Time will tell. Heidfeld is not improving on his flyer, could abandon this and save for some parts, as Friesaka completes his lap by the last sector, but 1.2 seconds down on his personal best. Justin Wilson is improving for the first sector, nearly 1/10 down on Ralf Schumacher, so maybe a good comparison for his lap time of the young Brit.
Alex Young going into the pits, so he's pretty much forfeit any chance of making it through, and it looks like for the second consecutive race both the Minardis will occupy the back of the qualifying order and therefore be knocked out before any racing has been completed for those guys. Quite a shame, as Justin Wilson now towards the second sector split. What is the time comparison? 1.6 seconds between him and his personal best. We'll see what he is down. He's down by the best part of 3 seconds on Patrick Friesaka, so unless this last sector is absolute lightning from the Briton, it could be a Boots and Energy racing car going through for the first time this season.
Actually, it's 3 seconds down on the pole lap, so he could also be ahead of Friesaka.
And up towards the line for Justin Wilson. Can he make it through into the top 26? He doesn't.
He does not.
He improves. He's within 0.3 of Patrick Friesaka, but it is not enough to lift him out of the bottom 4.
Depends if Wilson continues on for a second flyer, maybe get some more rubber in on his car. But as it currently stands, Patrick Friesaka goes through for Boutsen. He is on the second flyer. But he's down. He's down in the first sector at least.
Antonio Pizzoni is up, improving in the first 2 sectors, and could possibly challenge his teammate maybe if he improves by about 0.6. Only a 10th improvement, though, sees him only up to 23rd place. The driver who is just overtaken, Timo Glock, in qualifying, is also on a lap, however, as Cristiano De Mata exits the pit lane. Patrick Friesaka, meanwhile, has finished his qualifying session. He'll have his eyes glued to the screen of that of Justin Wilson to see if he can possibly make it through to the qualifying session, to the race, for the second time this season. Timo Glock doesn't improve, 24th place. What about Justin Wilson, though? How far up or down is he through the second sector? We can't exactly see, but as he heads through the second sector, he's given it all of his worth to try and make it into the top 26.
Come on, show us the split times. We need them. We don't care about the time comparison. He's not up.
And now so out the final corner.
Nakano does not improve. He's down on his personal best, so Friesaka doesn't get challenged by his teammate. and Wilson does not improve. So Friesacker should be through if Wilson doesn't do another lap. He does though. So Wilson still tries to at least get one more run in, but he has quicker cars behind, so that could be also his qualifying compromise now, and Friesacker being safe.
Wilson's really trying to give this 10 tenths to try and get into the top 26, but it's been a bit of a futile effort right now. He's failed to improve, and he's about 3.5 tenths down on where he needs to be to make it through to the top 26. Nicholas Manassian, meanwhile, in 14th place provisionally, sees no improvement, I think. Yeah, he didn't improve, and he stays in that 14th position. Behind Riccardo Sperafico, who team boss Drio had a bit of choice words for Riccardo Sperafico following his battling with the two Dams Lola drivers during the Australian Grand Prix.
Oh, definitely. Those words were not unheardable through the paddock, but Justin Wilson's down 1 second because he has Jacques Villeneuve in his rear mirror, so this should be qualifying over for the young Brit.
And this is the lead Toyota team as well, possibly getting in the way of a possible junior team trying to make it through to the qualifying session. This could be a bit of controversy between the two Toyota outfits, as now rounding the final corner for Justin Wilson. I don't think he's going to see any improvement, but will stay on board anyway with 1 minute remaining on the clock for Justin Wilson. He will not improve. He's down by over 2 seconds, and as such, I think that will be his qualifying session over. It is. He's on his in-lap. And I believe now it's Patrick Friesacker through to the race for the first time this season.
As Barrichello is looking for an improvement.
I think he's been held up a little bit by the Renault in front of him. And as such, I think Cristiano De Mata, while safe, is well down the order.
Definitely, as Barrichello is improving in the first sector, so maybe he can challenge his... No, never mind. He's nearly 1 second down on the pole time, but still up in the middle sector on his personal. So he could maybe challenge, if he gets good exit out of this corner and through the last corner, Giorgio Pantano for P5 on the grid. Would help his race as well. Up to the final corner he goes.
Checkered flag out there on circuit, and Rubens Barrichello completes his final lap in the qualifying session, currently in 6th position. And what does he do? He fails to improve, remains in 6th place. Dan Weldon also on a lap down in 11th place. He's done well in this qualifying session, within a tenth of his teammate David Coulthard, but it's unlikely that he's actually going to improve on this lap time. Alex Young going for one last dance in the Minardi to try and make it through, but he's well over 3 seconds off where the cut-off point is. Dan Weldon, though, up towards the line. We'll see if he can at least get ahead of his teammate. He fails to do so. 11th place for the Australian Grand Prix point scorer.
Fernando Alonso's on another fly. He's pretty close to his personal currently. Maybe a Spaniard can find something. No, never mind. He's still down through the middle sector where Trolley clawed back all the time. So should still see him though in 2nd position, as Michael is not on another flyer, and Giorgio Pantano should also be on his way into the pits. So truly Alonso should lock out the first row then.
Unless Fernando Alonso has had a magical final sector, it's looking strong that Jarno Trulli will take pole position and take Ferrari's first pole of the season. He will do exactly that. Fernando Alonso fails to improve, and Jarno Trulli enters the pit lane, which means that it's going to be Jarno Trulli on pole position for the second round here in Malaysia. Fernando Alonso completes the front row and is second for the second consecutive time this season. Michael Schumacher, on his one and only run in the qualifying session, lines up third ahead of teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Then comes championship leader Giorgio Pantano in fifth, and Rubens Barrichello completes row 3. Then we've got Villeneuve, Montoya, Wirtz and Coulthard completing the top 10, followed by the BAR teammates of Dan Weldon. Then comes the Red Bull Lamborghini of Felipe Massa, Sperafico, Manassian, Webber complete the top 15, with Ralph Furman completing row 8, quickly followed by the world champion of Ralph Schumacher. Meanwhile, for Pedro de la Rosa, 18th place sees him split the two Hondas as Sato qualifies 19th ahead of Button, who completes the top 20. Then we've got Heidfeld, Trellier, Pitsonia Glock, De Mata and Friesaka will be on the back row of the grid, which means for the first time this season, Justin Wilson fails to qualify alongside Nakano and the two Minardis of Alex Young and Jolt Baumgartner. Join us in a few moments where we will get the race well and truly underway.
Oh. We're back on live, right? Okay. So, here we are again. Jane currently is going to grab a drink. In the meantime, I keep you entertained for the time being. As Michael is going out on track to line up on the grid. Any surprises in qualifying, chat? Is anybody surprised by Patrick Prix making it through qualifying, seeing as the Boutsen isn't on pace compared to the Wilson Rose Motorsport car? Or is that pretty straightforward? Hi, Jack. We had a little rain scare through the warm-up session as we loaded in. There was potential of rain, but clearly has dried out again, so we expect a dry race with only 5% of rain chance at the moment, but Malaysia is always good for a good rain race, so could have a look actually down further the line if we get some rain. Any predictions also ahead of the race? Anything can happen, it usually does. It pretty much always does in F1 Challenge. But any predictions in terms of race winners ahead of the race by the chat? Would say that Schumacher one lap getting P3. Considering how F1 Challenge works normally, yes, but on pure pace, he quite literally is probably one of the highest, best drivers on the grid, but it was a good achievement by the German. Benny says the Michael wins the race, of course. Scissors says Alonso in second. Freesacker will finish the race. We hope that the Asia tags keep up during the race. Kimi for the win from Sampas. Okay, so McLaren the favorites, even though Truly was on pole by like 3/10.
Hello.
Or on Alonso. There's Jane again. Interesting.
I think biggest surprise for me in qualifying was the fact that Jaguar didn't really kick on in qualifying from Australia. They've actually got worse and gone even further back down the field. You kind of had to expect it with the straight line speed issues that we saw in Australia. But Cristiano de Mata 25th. He's surely got to be better than this.
I mean, the Cosworth engine isn't that powerful compared to its competitors on the grid, so kind of expected at the end of the day. As Chris tips Pantolo to win the race, and Jack says that
Turn that down.
Truly is going to win the race. So we have some different opinions in chat, actually.
Trying to turn that down to be 1%.
Okay, Scissors, that was uncalled for Brabham to both retire and me crying on live on air. That's uncalled for. I will definitely veto any choices in teams that you are making if we ever open up the the entry again, if Jane does that. Damn. As the time clocks down to 1:30 with the pit closing. My personal favorite probably for the race winner is Raikkonen actually as well. I'm with the chat on the bandwagon of that one of the McLarens is going to win. I have a feeling that Trulli once again gets problems and Alonso gets some kind of trouble in terms of the pit stops, maybe, but time will tell. Pantano comes up to the grid as well now for the first sector, or the second sector actually. Sorry, but Boutsen needs the positions. They can get the positions another way as well. Don't need to curse my team. That's unfair.
I
need some
reckon we're
references.
going to have a lap 1 first corner crash.
Oh,
That's my
definitely.
prediction. That is my prediction.
Definitely.
I'm going to say a good 3 cars go out the race before we even get to turn 1.
Probably one driver.
Yeah, probably
absolutely
someone like
standing.
it would be kind of funny if it was Antonio Pizzoni just doing a Hail Mary dive bomb again.
It would be, yes.
And just like killing both Hondas or something like that.
If he does that again, but he can quite literally find himself on the job center. But here we are. There are no 25 non-boots and cars on the grid. GP2 was full of post-pit stop first corner crashes. Anyone could go put at any moment. Okay.
Hello, Dylan, by the way. Welcome in.
Hello, Dylan. Yeah. Also, hi, Casey again. Welcome back.
Without further ado, then, let's get this race underway.
Definitely.
Hello there. Welcome to Malaysia. The weather, as so often is the case here, is just wonderful. Trulli first. Alonso second. The McLaren driver performed brilliantly in qualifying to line up third. Raikkonen looked a carbon copy of his teammate. He starts alongside in fourth. Pantano fifth. Rubens Barrichello sixth. Villeneuve seventh. Montoya eighth. Alexander Wurz ninth. Coulthard 10th.
Dan Weldon,
11th. Massa 12th.
Riccardo Sperafico,
13th.
Nicolas Menacion,
14th. Mark Webber 15th. Ralph Berman 16th. Ralph Schumacher 17th. Pedro de la Rosa 18th. Takuma Sato 19th. Jenson Button 20th. Nick Heidfeld 21st.
Benoit Trellier,
22nd. Antonio Pizzonia 23rd. Steve Muller 24th.
And with Cristiano D'Amata and Patrick Friesacker on the back row of the grid, it's time to go racing. 56 laps ahead of us for the second round of the 2004 season for the Malaysian Grand Prix. There are the lights. The lights are green, there's racing to be seen, it seems that everyone... Oh, there's a big crash at the back, it's Menacion involved, and I think Trellier is also involved. We'll get a replay of that in a second, as here goes Alonso towards the inside of Jarno Trulli, and it's a great move to take him up into the lead of the race. Fantastic start from the Renault, as there's Raikkonen getting past Michael Schumacher at the race start as well. He's up to third place, Giorgio Pantano holding in fifth, with Barrichello, Villeneuve and Montoya completing the points.
Yeah, like Timo Glock also dive bombed down the inside of multiple drivers into turn 1 as well, seeing as he's up in, or was up momentarily in P18. He actually has to pit, so maybe he made a contact with some drivers there. He was also caught up in the back row there with Menacion and Trollier. Just unsighted.
He's a bit unsighted there, and that will be Timo Glock as well without a front wing. I think he made up a number of places actually in towards.
Yeah, he did.
one.
He did. He was the one who absolutely sent it down the inside, as well as Friesacker. Friesacker's up in P15, unnoticed actually.
Yeah, great start then from Patrick Friesacker, who is up, 11 places?
11 places.
Actually, we need to see.
He sent it down the inside of multiple drivers there, taking full advantage of the chaos and the kerfuffle in turn 1 there. But pretty impressive start by the Austrian there. Nearly getting one also on Furman there. It just breaks like 50 meters later. Pizzonia there tried to actually block that move, nearly collecting him, but amazing start.
Very much indeed. But at the front, though, it is Alonso that leads. Fantastic
Raikkonen also got the jump on his teammate. Michael's down in 4th, nearly 1 second already down on his teammate. And we're heading down to turn 9, truly having a little look, but
Dan Weldon's actually got past his teammate David Coulthard, so a great start for him as the BARs swap positions. He's now on the back of Alexander Wirtz to try and make up places. Meanwhile, further back we see Takuma Sato getting back ahead of Jenson Button in the battle for 19th. Antonio Pizzoni is going a little bit slow further back. I think a couple of the drivers been held up by the drivers who have got no front wing, and especially Cristiano Tomato is still not through on them despite entering Sector 3. But at the front, it's Fernando Alonso that leads by 0.8 of a second, and Raikkonen on the back of Trulli already.
Seemingly Raikkonen having the earlier pace on Trulli. Trulli maybe heavier on fuel compared to his competitors here, but Alonso with a pretty decent start as well. Pretty good one actually compared to Trulli. Trulli losing their pole. Could maybe see the Spaniard build up a gap for his pit stops as Heidfeld got past Button in the back rows there.
And another driver that gained a lot of place as well as Patrick Friesacker was this man right here, Pedro de la Rosa, from 18th. He's now up to 13th and is now between Massa and Sperrafico on the road. As there goes Friesacker looking for a move possibly on the Toyota.
That Bootsness definitely came alive in the early stages now here of the race.
There's Webber also on the back of him, and now ahead of him as they head through the S section. A good move there from Mark Webber, quite opportune, but he's gone a bit wide through the double right-hander. A bit of contact between the Austrian and the Australian. But despite Friesacker trying to look for a move down the inside to regain that 15th place, it was a futile effort, and now he'll have to look towards the car behind again in the form of Ralph Furman.
I mean, was expected, seeing as the deficit of the car performance was quite huge, but he nearly got a runner again at Webber, so decent performance by the driver who replaced him at the team. As Wirtz and Montoya again fighting there, quite known for having inter-team battles last season. Some might say actually costing Wirtz the potential of the World Championship.
Wirtz then, rather than fighting for a World Championship, he was fighting his teammate for a single point in this race in the early stages, as Ralf Schumacher has overtaken Ralf Furman in the Battle of the Ralphs, and that's for P17.
Webber had a little look up on Sperrafico, but was not close enough, as the Mata and Pizzoni are already 6.5 and 9 seconds down compared to each other. Alonso at the front.
Despite Glock and Trellier both having pit stops, I think we actually might see a bit of a battle here for the Wooden Spoon 24th place, as Trellier is in the slipstream in towards the final corner. Can he look for a move towards the inside? I think the Opel's got a bit more grunt down the straight than the Toyota powered car, and as such stays ahead for now.
Definitely, yes. Alonso still ahead of Jarno Trulli, but the leaders are still close together. Around 1 second the gap between each other, but
Webber's been off. Webber's lost 2 places there, as Ralf Schumacher now looks towards the inside of Patrick Friesacker for 15th place, towards the outside of turn 10, and then swinging it round the outside of turn 11. He's made that place up, and now he's up into the top 15. See what happened here with Mark Webber. He was actually batting a bit with Riccardo Sperrafico's Toyota. Nearly lost the rear there, actually, through the S section. So maybe a bit of a rear downforce adjustment for this race to add a bit more straight line speed. And it's just a mistake over the curbs, a bit of a half spin there, and a place lost to Friesacker, and Ralf Schumacher sees the Australian move down to 17th.
Just maybe too aggressive with a heavy car, seeing as the weight of the fuel load also couldn't offset the downforce levels at the back. But still didn't lose too much time, as he's right at the back of Friesacker again, and De La Rosa is somewhat conducting a little train here, having Sperrafico on his rear end as well. Can't almost set the fastest lap of the race.
Maybe Wirtz is playing a bit of bodyguard here to Montoya, so Weldon does not get past. But as it currently stands, Montoya dropping second after second to the Toyota of Jacques Villeneuve in 7th. So this strategy, whatever Williams are planning, is not going entirely to plan.
Could actually be that Wirtz is light on fuel on his teammate and should be let through actually to maximize his strategy, seeing as Montoya could possibly have the grunt on the Audis behind, or the BMW, BAR Audis, as Barrichello went wide there, compared to Weldon and Coulthard. But
the top 6 almost nose to tail, the 2 Renaults, the 2 Ferraris and the 2 McLarens out in front as expected for this season. A bit of a symbolic form of train here as Jacques Villeneuve in 7th and Montoya completes the points. Mark Webber though has been off again. He's lost a number of places. He's down in 21st place and he's lost 4 places to the cars behind. So troubling start for Mark Webber. 2 mistakes in the opening couple of laps. And certainly not the way that the Australian would have wanted his race to go, or his season in fact, after stalling at his home race. He's a bit bothered by his early season form and the instability of that Red Bull really being shown there. And unfortunately for Mark Webber, making the same mistake again. And this time getting it a bit more wrong and losing more places. So maybe something wrong with Webber's car. Maybe he picked up damage in the earlier incident on lap 1. But either way, Webber, he's got to sort out whatever issue he's got.
Hartl went wide in the background there as well as Webber went wide, but clearly Webber struggling compared to his teammate Massa, who's 12, nearly 2 seconds behind Coulthard. As we have really just a nose-to-tail train here, with Villeneuve in his little bubble on his own, with another trains forming behind.
And then the train of all trains,
Yes.
with Pedro de la Rosa leading the front. Certainly got to be quite frustrating for those cars behind, seeing that the Opel in pre-season testing and in Australia was the fastest car in a straight line, and in fact is still the fastest car in a straight line. So
Webber got past Hartl.
Yeah, places being changed between drivers at the back, and Trillier has actually gotten past Timo Glock in their battle for 24th place. David Coulthard has been allowed back past Dan Weldon, and as such he can try and go and fight the 2 Williams ahead of him. Massa though, with a much better race compared to his teammate Mark Webber. He's up in 12th place for now, and he's hanging on to the coattails of the Williams and the BARs. He's doing well right now, and he's pulling away quite considerably from Pedro de la Rosa behind, who's managed to open up an 8-second gap within just 4.5 laps.
I feel like Webber went wide again. Yeah, he does. He did. He's 4.9 seconds, I think, behind Button again.
It's the classic James Early curse then for Mark Webber.
Yeah.
I think he actually made another mistake.
So clearly he made a mistake with his setup, as Massa really doesn't have any problems through high-speed corners, while the Australian has problems. So there could be a balance offset there, maybe. As Wirtz still can't get past. He's too far back under the braking zone there, so he can't launch it down the inside, as we have... How many cars are this? 7, 8? Yeah, 8 cars.
Something like that.
Which also helps Freesucker. Freesucker can keep up and isn't really under threat here, because, well, De La Rosa is matching his pace, essentially.
So Patrick Freesucker still in 16th right now. He's being aided by Pedro de la Rosa's lack of pace, at least in the corners, as now the gap between him and the driver ahead of him is 11 seconds. There goes Nick Heidfeld getting past Takuma Sato down at turn 4 and making that place up into 18th place.
I think I had a little look there around the outside on De La Rosa, clearly getting frustrated behind the Spaniard. Raikkonen again on the back of Trulli, seemingly having more grunt with the Mercedes engine. Maybe could launch it down the inside here. Has a look. Close enough. Also the fastest man currently on track, the young Finn.
Bit of a stalemate, it seems, between a lot of the drivers out on circuit, especially with Kimi Raikkonen, who's really trying to get this move done on Jarno Trulli and move up into second place, but nothing is really going his way.
McLaren could look at maybe a strategy option with a pass with Wirtz now blocking Kurva from passing him, potentially going too wide with his teammate essentially. So Williams still using Wirtz as a bodyguard for Montoya. Friesaka might have a look actually on Ralf Schumacher. He does. Friesaka maybe back up to 15th. No, keeps his nose clean there.
Weber ahead of Jenson Button. So despite a lot of the chaos happening around them, it seems that Jaguars lost a lot of places in the opening part of this race, with Button down in 21st and D'Amata down in 23rd. It's certainly a race that is not going their way. Weber passed another car. He's passed Sato now for 19th. Next on the radar is Nick Heidfeld in the Brabham.
Well, he will probably spin again, considering his track record around here. Maybe, actually, with a car ahead, maybe he has better performance.
Sato going a bit
Sato
wide
goes
there.
wide there.
Might fall under pressure from Jenson Button behind. I don't think so for now, but Mark Webber is on the prowl, it seems. Behind, Pedro De La Rosa is picking off place after place. He'll continue to try and angle his way through on the cars ahead.
Maybe he needed to shed off some laps of fuel on his car, or needed some car in front of him directly to get some better airflow over his rear wing, which would be a fundamental setup problem. But let's see if he can keep up his current pace. Up to the final corner, maybe a run on Nick Heidfeld. No sticks behind the German for the better run into turn 1, where he probably will get the Brabham.
On board now with Mark Webber down the main straight here in Kuala Lumpur, starting lap 8. And he's going to try and look for the move towards the inside. He backs out of it again. So not really being all too optimistic with his overtaking on Heidfeld, despite overtaking Sato and Button in fairly quick succession.
Clearly the Mercedes engine of the Brabham keeping Heidfeld at ahead of the Lamborghini-powered Red Bull from Mark Webber, but Webber should have maybe a run down to this corner where the Williams were currently, as Raikkonen is still directly behind Jarno Trulli's rear wing. As the Finn is once again having a late look, but not close enough.
Raikkonen maybe as close as he's ever been so far. Fastest lap of the race on the end of lap 8. He might look for a move towards the inside. He's a long way back. Thinks better of it again. And if Kimi Raikkonen wants to get through, he's certainly got to take advantage of the slipstream, or he's going to have no chance of getting past that Ferrari. Fernando Alonso, meanwhile. Sorry, go on.
Maybe the McLaren is only good enough for on the long straight part of the circuit, as Raikkonen always gains through there, but Trulli opens up the gap through the little twisty middle sector. So maybe the Ferrari is better set up for cornering speed against McLaren, saying that Raikkonen is actually closer than before.
Fernando Alonso really trying his hardest to etch out a gap to the cars behind as he now comes across lap traffic. That's going to be Timo Glock in the Opel, as Webber has now gotten past Heidfeld in that battle for 18th place. Despite the leaders being in Sector 3, Pedro De La Rosa in 13th is still in Sector 1. So as this lap car from Timo Glock is really hindering Fernando Alonso's progress, as down the back straight now, as Webber's gotten past another car. He's gotten past Ralph Furman now for 17th. He'll soon be on the back of Friesacker, I imagine, as well. As there goes Raikkonen getting past Timo Glock in the Opel. As we actually saw earlier that Jarno Trulli said there was possible clouds on the horizon, and it certainly is the case. The track has darkened very quickly in the intervening lap since he said this, and we could possibly have a chance of rain, Nils.
Definitely, that would be throw another spanner into the works, seeing as many teams already set up the strategies without having rain on their mind. So maybe some teams could offset the top teams if they get the switch to rain. It pretty well timed. If we have rain, as Webber had another mistake. Where is the Australian? He spun.
He's down at the penultimate corner, and another spin for the Australian, his third of the day. He's certainly not going to look good in the eyes of the team. We'll see where he went off. He was actually closing in on Patrick Friesacker, and through the fast right-hander, he's just completely lost it. Very strange spin there.
Lost it as he turns in for the fast right-hander there, but completely out of the blue, completely taking out him by surprise as well. But whatever is wrong with that Red Bull car really needs to get sorted out.
Cristiano De Massa now hounding the back of Antonio Pizzonia in the battle for 22nd place, but as we've said so often, the Cosworth engine really not proving its worth in this early stage of the season. It's definitely going to need a drastic upgrade if it wants to be competitive with the rest of the teams, as it's just been gapped by about what, 4/10 down that straight, I think it was, something like that, despite being in the slipstream.
Definitely. That is a far cry from last season's performances of Jaguar, as we already stated, with Jaguar getting 2 wins last season, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
one for Button. Yeah, so seeing them now down in 20th and 23rd is quite an interesting turn of events, but as of so often.
And that's
Ralph
Ralph
Furman.
He's the second retirement of the race, and is also the second Dams Lola Panos out of this race. Both cars retiring within the opening 11 laps, and a massive shame for the team who were looking at possible points in Australia, just missed out, and now their race weekend has come unravelled within the first fifth of the race.
Definitely unfortunate events, seeing as they definitely have a car capable of maybe an offset points finish, but if the car doesn't finish, you don't get paid at the end, actually, as the rear left suspension gives way. What about out Hartl? Definitely not. Stamata and Pizzonia are also catching up slowly with that train, seeing as Della Rosa is definitely holding up this great bunch of cars, with Highfield now being somewhat of a second train, this little train here.
Massa could probably pit now and maybe still come out ahead of Pedro De La Rosa.
He could.
Which could be great for him, especially if it rains. It leaves him with strategic elasticity for him in this race, as he's now actually catching Dan Weldon in the battle for 11th.
As with the already mentioned traffic of Timo Glock earlier, the gap at the front, at least between Raikkonen and Michael, extended a bit by 1 second nearly. With Michael more under threat by Pantano than him being
and that's
a threat to his
first wide.
teammates.
Can David Coulthard have a run in towards turn 9? With Wirtz going wide, this could be the chance that Coulthard's looking for. Wirtz defends that inside line and keeps 9th for now, but maybe there's a chink in the armour there for the Williams team in their plan to try and keep 8th place in this race at least. It's certainly an idea to go for, but if Wirtz isn't trying to at least catch Montoya at Villeneuve, like we all assume he probably could in this race if he was allowed through, then it seems that the maximum Williams are going to be able to get in this race is a singular point, as now Coulthard looks towards the outside, dips a wheel onto the grass even, but Wirtz holding firm in that 9th spot.
Definitely 2 world champions actually going head to head, with Coulthard being the 2000 champion and Wirtz taking his crown in 2001. But as it seems, Alonso was once again held up by traffic, that time being actually the Rose Motorsport car of Benoit Tourlier. Tourlier catching him back up to him. Michael went wide there a bit.
Button being overtaken by Webber, I think, for the 4th time this race at this point. So I imagine that Button's getting a bit sick of seeing that Red Bull overtaking him and then immediately spinning.
Interesting fact that I saw earlier pointed out in chat, actually Webber is pitting this lap, so that explains his earlier pace as Friesacker got past Ralf Schumacher. But interesting fact that I saw in chat, that Webber always spun when he was behind Patrick Friesacker, so maybe the former Sauber driver deploying some shenanigans to his replacement at Red Bull.
We get a replay of what happened with Patrick Friesacker overtaking Ralf Schumacher. If you want more information on this series and keeping up to date more often, then you can join the Discord server. Link is in the description, as there goes Patrick Friesacker up the inside of Ralf Schumacher. Not in the description, in the comments section, Jane. Come on, this is not a YouTube video. Anyway, I think it's also in the description. I honestly can't remember anymore. Anyway, BAR ready in the pits, so we're already seeing pit stops at play in this Grand Prix.
Schumacher got past Friesacker again, but I feel like it would be Coulthard actually. As Barrichello got past Pantano actually for 5th.
He has indeed. Is that rain down at turn 1?
So it looks like it, at
Can't
least.
exactly tell, but it does look like a bit misty down at turn 1 and turn 2. On board it seems perfectly dry, but I don't exactly know what I am seeing.
Looks good, but misty, yeah.
Yeah, Dan Weldon into the pits then. The first driver in this Malaysian Grand Prix to make a pit stop. He's probably on a 3-stop strategy as a result. The Red Bull of Mark Webber will also be into the pits.
Is that the McLaren crew also already there in the pits?
It might be, actually. So maybe for Kimi Räikkönen or someone along the lines of that. Well, the only other person it could be is Michael Schumacher, of course, as Mark Webber dives into the pits from 20th position. A very poor race from him so far, has to be said, as someone is into the pits at McLaren. It may be Kimi Räikkönen, especially with the pace that he's got so far. He's actually trying to get a run on a Jarno Trulli, maybe try and confuse the Italian a little bit before entering into the pit lane, so his teammate has a better chance of overtaking him. He now dives into the pits for the first time in this race.
There he goes, as well as Ralf Schumacher is also confirmed to enter the pits, so Friesacker will gain this position as well. As Barrichello now sets the fastest lap, so the Brazilian now having the upper hand in terms of lap time, as I feel like he is also next to pit, with the Ferrari pit crew also out in the pit box as well.
Räikkönen re-emerges behind Villeneuve, but ahead of Montoya, who is still heading this train. So yeah, I think someone is ready in the pits. I think that might be one of the Hondas that is ready to come into the box.
Should be Ralf, as he got the message earlier. So interestingly, or better for Räikkönen actually, he came ahead, back out ahead of Timo Glock, who was also on the main straight. So if he would have came out behind him again, he would have lost a lot of time, which he could make up with this undercut compared to Trulli and Alonso.
Ferrari are ready in the pits.
As this probably is for Rubens Barrichello, the pit call there. We see Ralf Schumacher stopping on his marks for his first pit stop of the race, probably on a 3-stop strategy, considering the lap where we are currently on. 8.4 seconds to stop time for the Honda driver.
And the number 1 car exiting the pit lane down in 21st place. Certainly not where he thought he'd be in 2004, as Rubens Barrichello follows Ralf Schumacher into the box,
we have
albeit
battle
nearly
for
a
the
lap
lead.
ahead. Trulli really starting to pile the pressure on Fernando Alonso, as is Michael Schumacher.
Yeah,
And,
because of Mark Webber being lapped, actually. He was
Oh, yeah.
in the shot, so it's actually holding up Giorgio Pantone as we speak. Oh,
Trulli
Pantone got
looking for a
past.
bit of a move there, as Villeneuve promoted up to P5. Barrichello just about comes out ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. I imagine those that stay out longer in that lead train will remain out in front, using the overcut to their advantage.
Could be a possibility, but also seeing as we have already some cars pitting in the lower midfield in the back marker section, they could also run into the traffic and lose a lot of time, which Raikkonen and Barrichello could make up on track. As a pit stop takes around like 24 seconds here.
Yep, so maybe somewhere in between, maybe a two-stop strategy could be the best play to avoid certain amounts of lap traffic, as Fernando
there's another
Alonso
car.
starts to pull out the gap once again ahead of Jarno Trulli.
Is also approaching Ralf Schumacher, who's about to be lapped. Far cry from his last season, seeing as he lapped multiple drivers there in his Ferrari.
Trulli is running second. Is right in front of you. You're running third.
For some reason, the Ferrari is like glitched on this track with its texturing.
Is a base game which should load in. Or
It's I believe it's a David Marquez mod.
which year?
02.
It loads in the 2002 spec model. That's why the onboard looks weird as well.
Ah, amazing. Well, there we go. That's why. Yeah, just Ferrari things. It's just the Ferrari strategy, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Seems that for now the rain is holding out, but the clouds remain on circuit. As Felipe Massa is having a good race right now. He's up in 11th place following Dan Weldon's first stop of the race. And he's keeping tabs with the three ahead of him. Maybe he's on a lighter fuel load, though, compared to the cars ahead. It will remain to be seen whether that is the case or not, as Barrichello slowly reeling in Jacques Villeneuve. And maybe if Villeneuve is slow enough, then Raikkonen can maybe launch an attack on Rubens Barrichello.
Could also just be down to left traffic for the Canadian as well, seeing as the Rose Motorsport car was just ahead of him.
I forgot to mention this as well, that Rubens Barrichello actually jumped Kimi Raikkonen in the pits. So the Finn will maybe be a bit desperate to get back past before the next set of pit stops, as Montoya still holding off his teammate Alexander Wirtz.
Yeah, so Jeffrey, yes, the MTS files are different Ferrari chassis. Could also happen to Williams at certain tracks. As Ralph makes it hard for his brother to get past. Not that friendly towards his older brother there. Pantone is now stuck behind the 2004 world champion, as the clouds actually
2004 world champion. I don't think he's
2003
winning
world
this. I
champion.
don't think he's
Sorry.
winning this championship.
Sorry, 2003 world champion, but I feel like the clouds are actually somewhat disappearing through the middle sector. Seems like a bit brighter again around the track.
Yeah.
So the rain scare actually going away again, as the temperatures are still pretty low for Malaysian standards.
We're approaching 1/3 race distance in this Grand Prix, and Fernando Alonso leads the way, yet to stop in this Grand Prix. He's followed by Jarno Trulli in second and Michael Schumacher in third. Giorgio Pantano currently with the fastest lap of Giorgio Pantano currently with the fastest lap of the race in 4th, followed by Jacques Villeneuve. Then we've got the first of the pit stops done by drivers in 6th, with Rubens Barrichello in that position, followed by Kimi Raikkonen and Juan Pablo Montoya in 8th. Yet to stop though in this race. He's lost a lot of time to the front runners, around 40 seconds in this opening 17 laps of this race. Then comes Wirtz and Coulthard in the top 10, then Massa, Weldon and De La Rosa with that long train of cars behind him, including Sperrifico, Friesacker, Heidfeld, Sato and Button. And Pitsonia is the last driver on the lead lap, with Friesacker actually getting past Riccardo Sperrifico.
Yes.
Oh,
somebody
and
got
that's
a
Sato.
Oh, not again!
He's been collected by Jensen Button, and more problems as Michael Schumacher's been overtaken round the outside by Giorgio Pantano.
Because
So
of the
it-
other Jaguar,
Racing.
as Friesacker scored into the pits. So Sato another race down the drain with Button caught up as an innocent bystander there. Stamata probably was the reason for Pantano getting passed around the outside. Going up to the fast left-right complex here. Michael getting held up by the Jaguar through here, running wide there actually, with Pantano taking the position down the inside.
That's a very opportunistic move from the Italian to make his way up into the podium places. It's now a Renault 1-3.
Jaguar, already in the pits.
As Trolley was held up there by the second Brabham of Pitsonia as well. So Alonso with a bigger gap than he had before. Pantano will dip into the pits though now. He was called in at the start of the lap, so Michael doesn't lose that much time behind the Italian.
Friesacker into the box from 14th place. He's had a fantastic start to this Grand Prix, but lap 18 stopping, maybe a two-stop strategy from the Austrian, as Giorgio Pantano is now into the box, following the Austrian into the pits. As now we see blue skies once again, so those clouds dissipating as the threat of rain is pretty much evaporated.
You're running third.
It would be interesting to see where Pantano gets out, if he gets out ahead of Barrichello and Raikkonen, or if the two of them stay ahead of the Italian. With short stop for the Renault driver actually.
I think the lap cars may have cost Pantano big here, as now out the pit lane, through goes Barrichello.
They really
and
did.
Through goes Raikkonen, so the overcut has not worked for the Italian one bit, and Barrichello is now up into the top 5.
Even with the shorter stop, the lap cars really hindered the Italian of the year from 2001 onwards.
Jacques
Barrichello and
Villeneuve
Raikkonen
nearly
gets a
being
jump.
caught by the cars behind. The gap is about a second as Wirtz and Montoya dueling, as that's Barrichello. Barrichello's out. Gearbox failure for the Ferrari. And the driver who finished third in Australia will not have such a result this time round. The Brazilian out of the race. What a shame for Ferrari.
This really helps both Williams drivers who currently are head-to-head, with both getting into the points-paying positions now. But hard race for Barrichello, with him being actually on a good strategy as it seems compared to his teammate with the lap traffic, but also helps maybe the lower end teams, with De La Rosa now releasing the little train he had, with Heifeld and Sperrifico now going head to head in turn 1.
Running second.
So Pedro de la Rosa was only had 2 cars behind him after previously holding up about 10 before, as Michael Schumacher sets the fastest lap of the race. Where does Pedro de la Rosa rejoin? Thankfully, for the majority of the field, Pedro de la Rosa is re-emerging behind them, but not for Patrick Friesacker, who's re-emerged a couple seconds behind the Spaniard.
It would be interesting to see if Friesacker has the pace on the Opel now, as Pitsonia seemingly is now the new new cork in the bottle.
And
Barrichello
Rubens
finally
Barrichello
makes
into the
it back.
box. He's going to be the 4th retirement of this Grand Prix. Quite a shame for him to not be able to build any momentum on his decent podium in Australia.
How many mechanical retirements had we last time around in Australia?
I believe not that many. I believe it was only 3
Maybe number
or
one.
4 the whole race.
So we're already at least matching it, if it was 4, with only 20 laps on the board. So Malaysian Heat probably putting more stress on the cars as it seems. Raikkonen, Wirtz goes wide there as Raikkonen slowly catches up with Villeneuve. Villeneuve with a really good race in the Toyota as it seems. Was pretty heavy on field.
Michael Schumacher
pretty heavy
again
on
with the
field.
fastest lap of the race, really stretching his legs, although he's not really catching the drivers ahead of him too quickly. Fernando Alonso now coming across maybe more lap traffic in a lap or 2. I'm not exactly sure who that is ahead of him. That's a Brabham and a Toyota, so that's a battle between
Eifert and Sperrifico.
the 12th position. As Webber's lost more places. Oh no, he's gained places, sorry. He's now ahead of Antonio Pizzoni. Further back, Benoit Trellier is just overtaken Jenson Button down the main straight. He's up into 20th place. And this is not been the best of races for Jaguar. And it looked like another race at the back. Jenson Button, though, maybe a bit of copium, maybe a bit of delusion from the one-time race winner in 2003, hoping that it's going to rain and level out the playing field for all the drivers involved. We would love to see it as spectators. Obviously, the unpredictability of rain always fetches the best out of races, as Jarno Trulli there lapping Nick Heidfeld.
Heidfeld now has the lead Mercedes team behind him, or had his lead Mercedes team behind him in form of Michael Schumacher. As Sperrifico now lets past Alonso as well. Alonso managing the lap traffic pretty much better than Jarno Trulli and Michael Schumacher, which could help the Spaniard actually retain his lead after their pit stops, depending when the Spaniard pits. Sperrifico seems troublesome again to be passed, but Michael gets it done.
So lap 22, and we have 22 cars left on the circuit, with Patrick Friesacker lining up a bit of a move there on Giorgio Pantano despite being a
Have a look.
Alex Wirtz, meanwhile, looking to try and get past his teammate once again. These two have been battling for the best part of 20 laps at this point, and maybe this is the best run that Wirtz has had. Looking towards the inside in towards turn 1, he's going to brake later than his Colombian teammates, side by side between Wirtz and Montoya. And will this be the moment where Wirtz gets through? It will be. Wirtz up into 7th place. Now hopefully F1 Challenge doesn't do F1 Challenge things, it's doing F1 Challenge things. Oh, why?
Why is it always the Williams?
Here comes David Coulthard in the BAR trying to put pay to that weird team orders thing that I absolutely hate.
It's so annoying. It's always the same teams as well.
Yep. So even though Wirtz is labelled as the #1 driver, Montoya just given #1 driver treatment by the team, who is on a one-stop and is basically ruining both their drivers' races. Fantastic. Massive past Coulthard. Coulthard trying to fight though, back in towards turn 9. I think Coulthard may have made a bit of a mistake there through the double right-hander of turns 7 and 8.
Massa is pitting at the end of this lap, could also be a reason for that. But Williams really shot themselves in the foot with Wirtz not getting through. Yeah, team orders are hard-coded for certain drivers, as it seems. As Villeneuve is pitting at the end of the this lap as well. Pretty good first stint for the Toyota. Maybe on a long one-stop till the end, or pretty certain that he is actually on a two-stop though.
Possibly, as Felipe Massa enters the box on the end of lap 22. He's into the box for his first stop of the race, as I'm not even going to look at that because it's going to immediately change straight back. As Villeneuve dealing with a lot of lap traffic. There you go, Montoya straight back through. as Jacques Villeneuve now putting a lap on fellow world champion Ralf Schumacher, who's down in 16th place. Certainly been an opening start to the season to forget for Ralf Schumacher, who is already starting to regret his decisions to move to such an uncompetitive team. As do my eyes deceive me? As someone just overtaken Pedro de la Rosa on circuit?
Frisacker got past Pedro de la Rosa. Yeah, team orders are hard-coded into F1 Challenge for certain cars. Found it out the hard way as well.
There we go then, out of turn 8 for Patrick Frisacker, and he's going to send a lunge from a long way back up the inside of the Spaniard, and he gets the braking done just right there. Better exit out the corner as well, and that is Patrick Frisacker up into P18.
Frisacker proving one of the late breakers in F1 as it seems, seeing as his race start also was down on 6 drivers actually, so the Austrian seemingly being quite comfortable under braking with his Boots and energy racing car.
As there goes Pedro de la Rosa looking for a move, and he's spun round. That has shades of, in real life, Australia 2002, Massa versus Sarlo, and de la Rosa goes spinning round at the final corner, and we'll have to concede that place to Patrick Frisacker. An optimistic move to try and make his way back up into the top 18, but nothing coming for the Spaniard.
It was actually Webber against Sarlo.
Who did I say?
Massa.
Oh,
the
my bad.
wrong Red Bull driver.
Pit crew ready.
As Michael Schumacher is told to box at the end of this lap.
So maybe on a bit of a lighter fuel load compared to his rivals ahead of him. Michael Schumacher within 7/10 now of Jarno Trulli. He's been slowly reeling in that gap from about 3 seconds to now half a second. It'll very quickly shoot straight back up though as Michael pits on the end of lap 24.
Will be interesting to see where he rejoins compared to Raikkonen and Pantano, as Alonso is also probably pitting at the end of this lap as the Renault pit crew came out of the pit box there.
Also
the
have to
stop
see
is a
where Raikkonen re-emerges in comparison to Michael Schumacher. It's a long stop down at McLaren.
That's a one stop.
A one-stop sort of time in the pits, 12 seconds essentially for Michael Schumacher, and I believe he's going to come out pretty comfortably ahead of Kimi Raikkonen here. Out of the pits comes Michael Schumacher, and Kimi Raikkonen just now crosses the start-finish line. Michael Schumacher already at turn 1.
So the long first turn for Michael leapfrogged him back ahead of his teammate and Giorgio Pantano as the Mattas told the box from P17. So would see him rejoin behind his teammate probably. As seemingly the race has cooled down a bit. Well, those two are still fighting, but we know what is going to happen.
What we really need to see is Wirtz needs to dive up the inside of Montoya and a lap car at the same time at turn 1. Get in between and just drive off. Oh, there goes Coulthard!
Coulthard.
Wirtz! And that's certainly a way to split the two Williams. David Coulthard taking full advantage of the two Williams squabbling over the minor points placings as Fernando Alonso into the pits. This is the time that Jarno Trulli needs to extend and try and overcut the Spaniard, and we'll see if this stop is good enough to see Fernando Alonso out, still ahead of Michael Schumacher.
Long stop, longer than Michael actually, but
now
should see him still ahead.
100 kilometers an hour down this pit lane.
It's now over the line.
Overcut paying nicely for Fernando Alonso. Re-emerges pretty comfortably ahead of Michael Schumacher, but this is not good viewing for Fernando Alonso in the other direction, with Jarno Trulli staying out on circuit.
But Trulli is approaching traffic, which Alonso dodged with that pit stop, so maybe the Renault race engineer saw already well on the track map and called in Alonso a bit earlier compared to Ferrari here.
He gets through pretty stress-free though, the Italian, and he's actually staying out for a number of laps rather than just one.
So that could be trouble for Renault. The Ferrari head strategist maybe outsmarting Renault.
D'Amato exiting the pit lane and coming out directly behind his teammate Jenson Button. The two Jaguars are second and third last in this race, ahead of only Timo Glock, who had who crashed into the back of... Was it Glock that crashed directly into the back of Manassian? Oh no, he crashed into the back of... He was the second driver. Trellier was the first one to crash into the back of him.
But Button also lost his front wing because of Sartre retiring directly in front of him.
Wirtz has gotten past David Coulthard. I think Coulthard made a mistake down at the double right-hander. And Wirtz will say thank you very much. An easy move up into 7th place. As there goes Montoya lapping Benoit Trellier.
Next up on the agenda, Dada Rosa.
What is the most retirements that there has ever been in this series? We had... Most retirements, I think...
Probably Monaco.
I think was... Oh, let me think.
The most retirements...
most retirements was San Marino last season, where we had 18 retirements, including disqualifications. If we count not disqualifications, then it's 16. By which case, I think the 2001 San Marino Grand Prix had 17 retirements, in which 5 cars only finished.
So, typical San Marino actions, as Alexander Wirtz is told to box, so his two-stop strategy, or his strategy probably ruined by his teammate.
Trulli continuing to push out a lead at the front. Gap is now 29 seconds to Fernando Alonso, and increasing as Jarno Trulli sets the fastest lap of the race on lap 27.
Trulli is definitely got the call to put in quali laps, as it seems now, to extend a healthy gap towards Alonso.
This is definitely the chance that Trulli's been wanting to try and get that lead out, as now it's 30 seconds to Fernando Alonso. We'll actually take a look 1 second at the last laps, and Fernando Alonso over 2 seconds slower than the car ahead as Raikkonen starts to claw ground on Michael Schumacher.
It'll be interesting to see if Trulli can keep up the pace ahead of his pit stop. If he does, he will most certainly stay ahead of Alonso and retake the lead on track as well.
There's one of the Williams into the pits. It's Wirtz. Alex Wirtz into the box on the end of lap 28. So actually, he's one stopping, so he may or may not have the measure on his teammate in terms of pace full stop, rather than a strategy in which the Austrian may have had lighter fuel than his teammates. Either way, Montoya is going to try and pull out a gap to try and at least stay ahead of his teammates in this battle for 6th position.
The reigning world champion is Ralf Schumacher, who's joined Honda from Ferrari. So champion beforehand was Michael and Alexander Wirtz, David Coulthard. Last 4 world champions.
Gap at the front is now 32.5 seconds. Trulli surely got this one in the bag in terms of pitting and returning to the lead once doing so.
If he doesn't have any problems with lap traffic or mechanical problems, he will most certainly win this race.
Oh yeah, 2001 San Marino had 19 DNFs, didn't it? Because there's 24 cars, not 22. Forgot about that. Yeah, so it's 2001 San Marino. Yeah.
As Webber jumped Heidfeld in the pits.
That's Webber's second stop of the race, so he's definitely on a 3-stop after stopping exactly on lap Actually, that was lap
12.
27, I think. Just there for the Australian and the German. Into the box comes David Coulthard for what I believe is also his first stop of the race. Dan Weldon's also going to be into the box at the end of this lap as the Scotsman gets serviced. This is going to see Felipe Massa in the Red Bull actually get promoted into the points.
So Raikkonen is pitting again from P4 at the end of this lap as well. So the Finn may be also still on the free stop strategy.
McLaren already in the pits.
Yeah, Justin Wilson had just failed to qualify. Did he? He had a problem, didn't he?
No, he got overtaken by somebody on the way.
Oh yeah, it was Jacques Villeneuve. Lol.
Yeah, Villeneuve cost your driver. So.
Well, I mean, he had a push lap after that was clear, and he still wasn't fast enough. So.
Yeah, but they usually take up the
Alonso
best lap with the
Oh,
second one,
Pantano's
so-
through on Raikkonen. Oh, Raikkonen's into the box.
Raikkonen's
apologies.
pitting.
So Raikkonen in for his second stop of the race on the end of lap 29. Maybe a three-stop strategy from him. It's unbelievable!
Trulli's out!
Trulli!
Again!
Trulli with a gearbox failure. The same retirement as Rubens Barrichello. Barrichello had a gearbox failure, and now Trulli's had a gearbox failure from the lead of the race. This is twice that the Italian has retired from the race lead, and he will come home from Malaysia with 0 points to his name after 2 rounds.
I cursed the race leader again.
You did. You did.
As Alonso will take the race lead again with that, but
Well,
seemingly
this is
the
certainly going
gearbox
to blow this race wide open as Pedro de la Rosa has just overtaken Ralf Schumacher. I think the Honda driver's into the pits, or has just come out the pits. Either way, Jarno Trulli trundling back to the pits in 6th gear it was, wasn't it? Yeah, 6th gear
Yeah, stick and
for
safe.
Jarno Trulli, and his race is going to come to an end on lap 31. A massive shame for him as he retires and becomes the 5th retirement of the race. This has blown this race wide open as now we can see the shot of the 3 leaders in this race. Giorgio Pantano looking towards the inside of Michael Schumacher to make it a Renault 1-2. Can he get the run on the exit of the corner? Michael Schumacher gives up that place. He didn't really defend that hard, but he might have another run in towards turn 1. Looking towards the inside, maybe is the 5-time world champion. Looking towards the inside. He's braked later than the Italian, but he can't make his way through. And now, what looked like a certain Ferrari victory is a Renault 1-2.
Well, Pantano was also one of the earlier stoppers, so he will probably pit again. So Michael should, in theory, be ahead of the Italian. But it could get close between Alonso and Michael. Michael having quite a good end of his stint last time round. So maybe we will see a battle between Michael and Alonso.
As Webber's just gotten past Riccardo Sperrifico in the battle for 12th. So Webber really trying to make a good comeback after already making 2 stops in this race. He's only got 1 stop to go, and maybe if he pulls out enough of a gap, I don't know what strategy Sperrifico's on, but Webber still could be on for a decent result here.
As Montoya is still out on circuit. He's one of the last drivers actually without the pit stop. So could actually see him pretty much be secure in like P7 with the current gap. Smirnov has a pretty good afternoon in the Toyota.
Pedro de la Rosa just ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Oh, and Timo Glock's off. Glock's off at the final corner.
Suspension damage, as it seems, to the
Pantano's leading. Pantano's leading.
Panto got past. Panto was led past. Panto was led past.
We'll have a look at what happened with Timo Glock, and then we'll look at what's happened with the race lead. A brake failure, supposedly, for the Opel driver.
Honda braking into the final corner. Yeah, just turned itself off. Parked it
He
up.
actually ends up getting beached on the...
Yeah, he got
on the
beached,
side of
but
the road
I feel
there.
like Pantano got let past there. No, actually made the move stick, so Pantano clearly getting a move on.
Alonso was not letting that one happen. Maybe he wanted to get the upper hand on his teammates after he was pretty much beaten pretty one-sidedly by his teammate, his new teammate no less, at Renault. But Pantano still forces his way through and now takes the race lead. Pantano, though, should be on for another stop before the end of this race. Alonso not pleased with that one bit.
Well, he should actually be more helpful in the terms of letting Pantano go through, seeing as Pantano is still pitting again, helping maybe him to secure 1-2 with Michael still directly behind. But Alonso should more focus on Michael instead of his teammate, as Pizzoni has told the box from P13.
Giorgio Pantano already pulling out a seconds gap ahead of his teammate Fernando Alonso. So whether Fernando liked it or not, this Renault strategy is really coming to fruition today, as Raikkonen nearly a pit stop behind Giorgio Pantano, as I believe those two were on a fairly similar strategy. I don't know if Raikkonen needs to stop again in this race, but if he does, then Pantano has really pulled out a gap ahead of the Finn.
Oh, definitely. But also during the pit stop phase, Coulthard jumped Wirtz for P8. So the BAR now up into the points paying position as it currently stands again. With Massa, I feel like Massa's also one. Massa and Montoya are still the two drivers I feel like without a pit stop, if I remember correctly, with Pizzonia pitting at the end of this lap.
Let's take a look as one of the Brabhams into the box. No, Massa's made a stop already.
Oh, Massa's already. Okay, Massa has a really good race then.
Yeah, Massa's done well. He's actually, I believe, started to actually close into Jacques Villeneuve in the last couple of laps. And as such, it could be a possible battle between these two, although I think Massa may have to box again in this Grand Prix.
Pantano has a 3-second gap already over Alonso nearly, so...
Oh, Michael!
Oh,
Schumacher's out! Schumacher's out from third place! Unbelievable! He's off at the side of the road at turn 4 on lap 33, and Michael Schumacher retires!
All the front runners running into problems, so any Renault fans in the chat, pray that nothing happens to those two, as Michael also retires, probably with a suspension failure. And
massive disappointment for him. He was almost certainly on course for his first podium of the season, maybe even a race victory, and the right rear suspension falls apart on that McLaren Mercedes car, and Michael Schumacher becomes the 7th retirement of the Malaysian Grand Prix.
So it definitely is all in the hands of Renault strategy now with Pantano to make it a 1-2. Seeing as Raikkonen is already nearly a pit stop gap behind.
This is absolute dreamland for Renault right now. They've got a brilliant chance of...
Villeneuve could be on course for a podium.
If more problems happen ahead of him, then most certainly for the world champion of 97, as Michael Schumacher feels like Mahombi, because it sure is a bumpy ride, as he says over the radio. Felipe Massa, though, quickly closing in that gap to Jacques Villeneuve ahead.
There's also lap traffic ahead of Felipe Massa, but Montoya needs to pit. Raikkonen might be on a free-stop strategy, as Pantano gets the call to pit soon. So it's definitely hammer down now for the Italian, but again, Montoya still needs to pit, and Raikkonen might as well, with Massa struggling there now as well. So Villeneuve could be on course for his first podium back into the sport, actually.
And it would indeed be his first podium, I believe, since somewhere in 1998. I'm not exactly sure when his last podium exactly was. I know he won the Monaco Grand Prix in 98, and I think that may have actually been his last podium in Formula 1 as well.
Opel.
It is the Monaco Grand Prix of 98.
So it would be his first podium in nearly 6 years, which would be quite the surprise for him and the Toyota team, especially with his late call-up to the squad.
As Pantano has extended the gap to 5.2 seconds. As there's an engine failure ahead. Who is that?
I think that's one of the drivers towards the back. I can't find who it is. Who is it? It's a Jaguar.
Renault.
It's Button.
It's Button.
So the
Cosworth
Cosworth
engine letting
engine,
go.
not only is it underpowered, but it also seems unreliable, at least in the back of Jensen Button's car. He's going to be out of this race eventually. As we'll see from the rear of the car, there's definite smoke coming out the back of that Cosworth-powered Jaguar, and he will be another retirement from this race.
Also, going completely unnoticed, Freesucker is up in P13 because of all the troubles ahead. Being the
Pantano
highest,
into the box.
Freesucker being the highest positioned Bridgestone runner.
That is a sentence of all time.
As Pantano's fueled up to the end, so if Raikkonen needs to pit again, this race is already in the bag for Renault. If nothing happens to both of those cars, seeing as many front runners ran into troubles, but he keeps ahead of the Finn, and it is a 1-2 for Renault, with Alonso leading Giorgio Pantano for the Malaysian Grand Prix of 2004.
Kimi Raikkonen almost with no response at this current state. Yeah, I believe he needs to make a pit stop, and he's already a whole pit stop behind Alonso and has come out behind Pantano after the Italians made his pit stop. So it's looking rosy down at Renault, but never say never in this world of Formula 1 as Button's still going. We'll eventually see the expiry of that Cosworth engine at some point.
First the box. Finally for this person only stop. Should happen any moment actually, seeing as the power is completely going.
And there goes his teammate Cristiano D'Amata, overtaking him for 16th place. A very lowly position indeed.
Really, it's just seeing maybe getting the engine to a longer distance, but there's nothing really that Button can do about the expiring Cosworth engine in the back.
It's been a miserable, miserable season so far for Jaguar. And many who thought that Jaguar could have pushed on from 2003 with their best, I'd say, one of their best seasons to date. Apart from that amazing season that they had in 2000 where they scored a second place in the Constructors. It's really falling apart for the Black Cats.
Definitely, yes. We are just awaiting the inevitable at this point here. As Massa is now under 1 second behind Villeneuve actually for P5. With the Red Bull on the back of the Toyota, but keep in mind Massa probably needs to stop again. Exactly when I utter those words, he is told to box at the end of this lap, so this will sort itself out again.
There's Massa with a good straight line speed down the main straight here at the Sepang International Circuit. Can't quite find a way through on Jacques Villeneuve, but Massa, great chance at points it seems, as he's over a minute ahead, or nearly a minute ahead, of Weldon in 9th. As there goes Jensen Button, the engine blowing up on the exit of the final corner, and Button retires from the Grand Prix.
Sad end to even sadder race actually.
Is out. He's blown the engine.
Button probably also considering leaving if those performances of Jaguar don't pick up at the end of the season. So we have 20 laps to go still in this Grand Prix. With closest battle on track being Felipe Massa on Jacques Villeneuve, who is 2 times down on the Canadian.
It would help if I took the pen that was underneath my keyboard out of the underneath the keyboard. I could actually sit properly on my desk. Anyway.
Riccardo Sperafico.
It's stuck in first gear.
And that's another
Sperafico's
mechanical
out now.
retirement. Toyota with a gearbox failure in the form of Riccardo Sperafico retiring from this race.
And he has to do a whole lap because he missed the pit box by 100 meters.
Montoya into the box then from 4th position. as well as, I've just lost myself, Felipe Massa in 5th. As such, it's going to be Jacques Villeneuve moving up to 4th place. No, Montoya re-emerges ahead, so Montoya should be on course for 4th place unless he gets scrutinized and disqualified again. We'll have to wait and see for that one. But Massa into the box for his second and what we assume to be his final scheduled stop in this Grand Prix.
Long stop.
10.2 second stop. Not a great stop, but either way, regardless of the stop time, he's going to come out comfortably ahead of this man right here, Dan Weldon, who's down in 9th.
Definitely, as Weldon is also being lapped there by Fernando Alonso, but... Oh! Contact between Frisak and Wirtz, I think it is. No, it's
that's
Montoya.
Yeah, Montoya almost bullying his way through on Patrick Friesacker, as the Austrian now up into 12th place. It's been a fantastic race for him, as well as Nick Heidfeld, both up 10 or more places in this race.
Is it weird to say that he might be the driver of the day, actually?
It would be a good call for driver of the day. As Ralf Schumacher, of course, has gotten past Riccardo Sperrafico, as the Brazilian will peel it into the box at the end of this lap.
And yeah, Raikkonen and Pantano are separated by 3.2 seconds, so Pantano could also just maybe get in a battle with the McLaren behind, so Renault need to look out for that as well, as Sperrafico is now heading into the pits to retire. Set into a pretty okay race for the Brazilian, certainly not up to the heights that his debut shown on a... Well, he was the Prost driver last in 2003, right?
Yeah, but that was the Australian Grand Prix was his debut race.
Yeah.
So it technically was his debut, yeah.
Yeah. Raikkonen slowly catching up with Pantano, but there might be some trouble ahead with traffic of Dan Weldon.
So now we're down to 17 drivers left in this race, 9 retirements, and all but one, Manassian by technicality, retiring on the grid. Maybe a electronics or a clutch problem, which would technically be
it was noted down as an electronic issue. What I saw actually. So all of the retirements pretty much, actually all of the retirements down to mechanical.
Yeah, the only 2 Bridgestone runners left in this race at this point are Patrick Friesacker and Ralf Schumacher.
Friesacker is beating the current world champion, so his stocks are rising in the paddock.
Ralf Schumacher certainly quite frustrated, I imagine, behind the wheel of that car. His race and his season is almost falling apart, and we're only 2 races in.
Is it more down to or is the car actually in the places it should belong, or should it be further down, seeing as Sato clearly struggles against the other cars on the grid, as Trollier and D'Amata are fighting for position. But Friesaker's definitely doing wonders in that car.
Yeah, Friesacker up in 12th place, and with his teammate failing to qualify, and down in 28th position. It has to... Oh, was it 28th? Yeah, it was 28th position.
Yeah,
questions have to be considered of whether Shinji Nakano is Formula 1 worthy at this stage of his Formula 1 career. He's aging quite a lot at this point. He's 32 or 33 at this stage, and maybe his time in Formula 1 will come to an end at the end of this season.
Bootson Energy Racing.
Speaking of,
Friesacker is told
into the pits.
I thought I saw correctly with an orange pit crew out in the pit area, but Friesacker is pitting. He actually catched up to Heidfeld, so really good pace for the Austrian.
And into the pits on the end of lap 38 or 39. I'm not exactly sure how many laps down he is.
1 lap.
1 lap down. Okay. Yeah, 1 lap down. Yeah, he's into the box from P12. A fantastic stint from him. He may be challenging Antonio Pizzonia on pit exit. We'll have to wait and see.
Pizzonia should come into the final corner now, so Friesaka should actually have the position sealed. So P13 is a really good result for him if he manages to hold on to it. There we go.
9-second pit stop sees Friesaka emerge in 13th and crucially ahead of Pizzonia and Benoit Trellier. Massa's also had a great drive in that Red Bull. He's up in 8th place right now and he's looking to score Red Bull's first points of the season, as that was
loose behind his compatriot there.
Nearly spinning the car round at turn 3 as
Trellier
they're up the inside.
gets the advantage there.
Pizzonia caught lacking a little bit by the Frenchman. A bit sleepy on that move as Benoit Trellier really rubbing it in to the Brazilian as he moves up to 14th position.
Runs about wide there though. Could see him under threat from the Brazilian again, but Raikkonen, actually the story at front, is slowly reeling in Pantano as Trellier is also pitting at the end of this lap.
So that overtake was pretty much all for naught as... yeah, I think... I don't know if Raikkonen actually has to stop again. If he does, then he's stopping pretty late on in the day, as with...
And he would...
Just over 15 laps to go, Fernando Alonso leads.
Ralph is pitting again, so this battle between Friesaka and Ralph is still up for grabs for P12. But if Raikkonen is pitting again, he would have to pit like in the next 2 laps.
I think either way, barring mechanical problems for the McLaren, he should be able to hold on for his first podium of the season. As with now 15 laps remaining, Alonso leads ahead of Pantano and Raikkonen, with Montoya, Villeneuve, Coulthard, Wirtz and Massa completing the points. Weldon and Webber make up the top 10, with Heidfeld and Ralf Schumacher, who we're looking on board with, down in 12th, the reigning champion, again not having a good race at all this weekend. Patrick Friesaka on his first start of the season in 13th, ahead of Benoit Trellier, Antonio Pizzonia, Cristiano De Mata and Pedro de la Rosa. The last of those two are 2 laps down on the leader of the race, as Ralf Schumacher called into the pits at the end of this lap.
Then Weldon also called into the pits. He should re-emerge in P10. Having a healthy cushion, actually. Never mind, Webber is also told to box, so he normally should stay ahead of the Australian, depending if the pit box or the pit crew of BAR keep him in front. With a healthy cushion behind till Nick Heidfeld in P11. As Raikkonen is told to box, so my fears for a free stop strategy for McLaren are confirmed then.
Ralf Schumacher into the box on the end of lap 40. And his third stop of the day could see him possibly under threat from Patrick Friesaka in the Boots and Energy Racing car. A good stop though, 7.6 seconds, could still fetch him out in 12th position, and he does exactly that as the Agiotech powered machine powers his way down the start line and has been jumped by the 2003 World Champion.
Weber and Weldon are battling for who gets into the pits first, actually, for P9.
No, actually, this is Massa... Oh, no, that's Webber. Yeah, sorry. I'm completely lost at this, but I thought that was Massa lapping Weldon. I got so confused. Anyway,
both
it's
made
a
a
pit
mistake
stop
there.
battle between Red Bull and BAR.
BAR further down the pits.
We'll see if the Red Bull crew can serve up a good pit stop. Maybe inexperienced with such stresses, but a good stop could prove otherwise. 8.9 second stop though. What about the BAR crew? Slightly slower in their stop, but just about fetched Dan Weldon in front of the Australian, and Weldon retains that P9, albeit nearly a minute behind the next car in front in the form of Felipe Massa.
who is being lapped and is lapping somebody. So,
Ooh,
getting
very
loose
nearly.
there, actually.
Making a mistake there was Felipe Massa. Maybe overall that Red Bull is lacking a bit of grip on the rear. Who actually knows? But with Giorgio Pantano now realising that McLaren are ready in the pits to serve Kimi Raikkonen, he could probably take it quite easy to the rest of to the end of this Grand Prix and collect an easy second place and 8 points alongside it.
Hello, Alex.
Hello, Alex. Welcome in. Hope your day is going well.
So, for the perfect time with your Alonso fan, seeing as he's leading this Grand Prix from his teammate Giorgio Pantano. As Raikkonen now up to his marks. The Red Bull cannot handle Patrick, so yeah, maybe. As Raikkonen is probably looking for like a 7 second stop here.
7.2.
It is a 7.2.
He's going to easily come out ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya, who's actually just entered the final sector. So it's fairly easy sailing for Kimi Raikkonen until the end of this race, barring, of course, mechanical retirements.
Could take it easy and nurse his car to the finish line. Seeing as the gap is nearly half a minute.
What is Pantano doing in a Renault? He's had a fairly respectable career up to this point.
Someone has not kept up with the law.
Speaking of
And that-
law, there's Felipe Massa in the Red Bull looking to score his first points of the season, and he's looking quite comfortable to do so. With Lamborghini also scoring their first point of the season will get them off to a good start in the both the Drivers' and the Constructors' Championship. Of course, it seems that there is a bit of a grid spread so far this season between the front, I'd say front 5 teams and the rest of the field. Maybe Toyota also make up that maybe top 6 or so. Either way, though, for Red Bull, this would be great for them, especially in their battle with Dams Lola Panos, who have both their drivers out of the race.
Definitely. As we are in the post-Sauber era with Red Bull, having bought into a majority stake in the operation.
Yeah, so Friesaka was actually in contention for that second Red Bull seat alongside Felipe Massa, who was confirmed a bit earlier in the season in 2003. He was actually at Sauber, who were being bought out by Red Bull last season, and despite scoring a magnificent 5th place at the Italian Grand Prix, he was unfortunately dropped in favour of Mark Webber. Since then, he has signed for Boots and Energy Racing, in which he failed to qualify for the Australian Grand Prix, but has done the opposite of that here in Malaysia, and is running pretty well in 13th position.
Some might actually say he is outperforming Webber in this race, even with Webber being in 10th, but in much better machinery.
Webber's, of course, had a very, very interesting race, to say the least. 3 or 4 spins during the race, including, I think 2 of them at least were within the first couple of laps. As Mark Webber's, he's had a fairly decent recovery drive, but if you're not beating your teammate, then you're losing out to the team, I guess. If you're constantly getting beaten by your teammate, it's never a good look.
To quote David Coulthard on this, the first opponent is your teammate, and if you're not beating him, you are definitely in troubles with the higher ups in your team, depending on your status.
Oh yeah, it's my mouse. I don't know why, but I do have noise cancelling on, like OBS, and I have noise cancelling on my microphone. It just doesn't work. I don't know why, but very good.
Yeah, so Friesaka lost the status of highest running Bridgestone runner, but he kept it for like 10 or 15 laps.
There's Alex looking to get past Nick Heidfeld, I think that is, or...
Correct.
Yeah, Nick Heidfeld.
with Brabham also having a better afternoon compared to Australia, where both cars ran into the back of each other. This time
Fortunately, they haven't really seen
met
each
each
other
other.
this race.
Yeah. So, strong words towards Pizzonia seemingly having had with him fighting over Cristiano D'Amato, who also was in contention for the second Brabham seat. But reports say his high wage demands actually kept him away from that spot in the car.
Who knows, maybe Cristiano D'Amato would be more competitive in a Brabham compared to a Jaguar, as he's currently behind him in the green machine.
Could be actually good sentiment made, but who knows?
I can tell that you're grinning from ear to ear right now.
Yes.
Saying that.
But currently, it's actually one of the closer battles, with Mark Webber against Dan Weldon being the closest on track.
Actually, keep an eye on that then, as Webber with that probably advantage on the straight line versus Dan Weldon is going to try and pull alongside the Briton in towards the final corner. Up the inside goes the Australian. He's got to the apex, and can he hold on to it? A little bit of rear instability costing the Australian on the exit, and he can't get the move done out the final corner, but maybe towards turn 1 he can try and have a look towards the inside of the BAR Audi. Weldon on the right, Webber on the left, and Webber's going to scythe it up the inside and take 9th position away from the BAR of Dan Weldon. So if any retirements happen in the top 8, then Webber is there to capitalise.
The Red Bull really looking nervous under braking on turn-ins, so maybe the team needs to focus on that in the future. But as it currently stands, they're running 8th and 9th, which is a good result for the rebranded team. Definitely a basis to build on. As Webber already pulling a gap on Dan Weldon. Weldon clearly not having the pace like he had in Australia.
David Coulthard has been quietly but calmly been closing in the gap to Jacques Villeneuve in the battle for 5th place. Gap is now about 2.5 seconds between the Toyota and BAR drivers. Villeneuve scored a 7th place at last weekend's Australian Grand Prix. Meanwhile, Coulthard scored a brilliant 2nd following a lot of problems for a lot of the drivers higher up the field.
I have a slight Eddie Jordan impression in my voice. Okay, Bench. Also, hello.
Hello, Bence. Welcome in. An interesting comparison there. I don't think I've caught on to it.
I don't as well. Interesting. Anyway, but seemingly Webber and Weldon have separated, but really decent return for Jacques Villeneuve, who also had this criticism ahead of the season, saying that he was definitely past his sell-by date, but his jump back from the American open wheel scene to F1 seemingly having brought the fruits to Toyota.
I'm just going to say something that will definitely curse someone in about 2 corners' time. We haven't seen a mechanical retirement in a bit.
That's my sentence. But we are entering the Bento laps, as Jake and myself called them, with the final 6-5 laps. As I feel like we actually have Wirtz slowly catching up with Coulthard.
Yeah, I think it's more of a pace difference though between Villeneuve and Coulthard than Coulthard and Wirtz.
Oh yeah, actually, never mind. Yeah.
As Coulthard's really trying to reel in his fellow champion. Obviously, Jacques Villeneuve winning in dramatic style in 1997 versus Michael Schumacher. But in 2000 we saw a much more one-sided affair in the championship, with David Coulthard scoring 10 of that season's 17 races in the 2000 season. Is currently the record holder actually for the most race wins in a single season.
Yeah, so also in the background you can see the 2001 World
Oh, as
Champion.
Heidfeld's off in the pit
Oh!
lane.
Has lost his rear wing.
Oh!
Just as I said there was no retirements for a good amount of time, there goes Nick Heidfeld in the pit lane. A very strange place to crash. We'll see what happened with the German. It wasn't actually scheduled to box, so maybe a brake failure in which he's actually ended up blocking the pit lane. We're not exactly sure. We'll take a quick look at it. It is a brake failure into the pit lane, and he loses his front and rear wings. We'll get a better shot of that actually. There we go. Hitting the barrier side on, and the unfortunate race which saw the German in a fairly decent position comes to an abrupt halt.
Heidfeld has retired
So
in sector
that
3.
elevates Ralf Schumacher and Patrick Friesacker up a position with Ralf Schumacher now in 11th, Friesacker in 12. With Pitsonia and D'Amato also obviously gaining a position there. But Coulthard is now on slowly reeling in Villeneuve, under a second the gap between the 97 and the 2000 world champion.
I like this idea that Jake's come up with. Red flag, Patrick Friesacker passes another 10 cars
yes.
on the straight
Yes.
and gets the second place
Yes.
finish. Great idea. That's an amazing idea. Anyway,
Good idea.
with just 7 laps to go, it's looking strong for Renault to take a 1-2 here in Kuala Lumpur, but all eyes are on the battle for 5th position between 97 champion Jacques Villeneuve and 2000 champion David Coulthard.
Actually, Coulthard's teammate could play a hefty role in this, with Weldon just ahead of Jacques Villeneuve. There you can see him. With also Wurz slowly catching up to this battle, so we could see 3 world champions actually fighting each other on track.
We'll see how much Dan Weldon can possibly hold up Jacques Villeneuve within the rules set, of course. But poor exit there from Jacques Villeneuve actually out of turn 2 is going to put David Coulthard all over the back of his rear diffuser. Dan Weldon not looking like he's going to make Jacques Villeneuve's life too hard, much to the dismay of the Scot.
Actually keeping his teammate further behind than the Toyota driver. But
It's pretty much going to be all down to David Coulthard to try and make this place, unless the Opel in front of him, that's Pedro de la Rosa, is going to play a part in, hopefully, for the Scotsman's sake, stopping the Canadians' progress. Oh, nearly contact there between de la Rosa
there.
and Coulthard, as the Scotsman is really starting to get held up here by Pedro de la Rosa. It's costing him dear. He eventually
Again,
gets
though.
through, but the gap has extended between the 2 former world champions to over a second. Quite a shame there for the Scotsman, as he'll try to reel him in within the next few laps.
as it currently stands, Raikkonen would still be behind Coulthard in the points paying position, so Coulthard would be still second behind Giorgio Pantano. So
I'll definitely have to watch that after Casey.
So Coulthard with a decent start of the season. Also moves like Alman has been... Oh yeah, moves like Alman, yeah.
Montoya,
Definitely need to
though,
watch that.
despite his the concerns of the Williams' lack of pace, he's had a very good race once again here in Malaysia, having the upper hand on his teammate once again and running quite nicely in 4th place.
Seemingly the Williams being a better race car than the qualifying car, with both drivers once again in the points paying position. Hello Jakob. Welcome along. Villeneuve still ahead of Coulthard.
Coulthard's really trying to reel in the gap, and he's doing exactly that. He's actually taking quite a lot of time out of Jacques Villeneuve right now. The gap that was 1.3 seconds just last lap has now fallen to maybe within 0.3, so David Coulthard at least, or maybe even more than, a second a lap faster than the Canadian.
Definitely. Could have a possible overtaking already coming up soon with the hairpin coming up.
It's a fairly decent exit there for David Coulthard, and within the slipstream, we'll see who has the straight line speed advantage. It seems that Jacques Villeneuve ever so slightly has the grunt down the straight line versus the Audi-powered machine. Coulthard's going to try from a long way back, though. There's nearly contact between the two. Jacques Villeneuve's going to hold on for now, but how much longer can he? As now David Coulthard in the slipstream, on board with Jacques Villeneuve now as they head towards turn 1. I don't think Coulthard's going to be close enough to make a move. He's going to try it from a long way back, though. Can't quite find his way through. Coulthard holding firm in 6th place, but do you think Coulthard can get through on Villeneuve before the end of the race?
Really depends if Villeneuve can keep the pressure down against Coulthard, but normally he should be able to keep that position, seeing as the Toyota has a decent grunt on the straights. Maybe actually back Coulthard up into Wirtz and cause a bit of trouble with the Williams if he tries to play that route. But let's see if Villeneuve keeps his nerves, with Wirtz also now only being 2.5 seconds behind Coulthard. So we could really see this three-way battle there, as Pitsonia seemingly still believes there's rain to come. Heavy copium there.
I think he said it. There's no chance of rain. So
okay, never mind. Then I saw
the Brabham team supposedly have been holding out on the rain until this point. So
heavy copium there. As the gap between Wirtz is slowly, not as fast as Coulthard did, coming on the back of Villeneuve there, but Coulthard now closer than before. Maybe this time around the Scot can make the mistake.
He's coming from a long way back, but he's not able to make the move again. I don't think he's actually as close as he was in the previous lap. Maybe within a good slipstream range there for David Coulthard, trying to get the slingshot on Jacques Villeneuve, but there's no way through. The Canadian has the straight line speed advantage again as they head onto lap 53. 3 laps to go for race leader Fernando Alonso, for him to take his first race win, his first podium, and his first points of the season. With Giorgio Pantano in tow in 2nd place, this is looking like a very good day for the Renault team.
This could also be quite an interesting factor with Alonso approaching those 3. He could play a dividend role as well, seeing as the lap cars need to manage their pace as well.
I think he'll be too far back, Alonso.
Coulthard going wide there.
Yeah, I think Alonso's about 10 or 15 seconds back, so unless these guys have a bit of contact with each other, then I don't think it's going to necessarily happen. Either way, though, Wirtz closing in on the pair of them, as we might have the very exciting prospect of 3 world champions battling for 5th place.
Really seems like Coulthard is losing his cool behind Villeneuve instead of Villeneuve losing his cool in front. With Coulthard making some mistakes through the middle part of the lap. Once again, not close enough for the launch down in the inside of the Canadian, but if he keeps under pressure, he might force a mistake from 97 world champion.
I think he's going to have to force a mistake from Jacques Villeneuve if he wants any way through, as that car is just a little bit too fast for the Scotsman's abilities to overtake.
Just cross the line at this time. As Wirtz is now 1 second behind David Coulthard, so this battle is really on.
Maybe if Coulthard makes a mistake trying to get past Jacques Villeneuve, then Alexander Wirtz could be the one to pounce and take 6th place off the Scotsman. We'll have to wait and see, as with just 3 laps to go in this race, 2.5.
Let's capitalize off this mistake by Coulthard, with him running wide there again. Now he's definitely on the back.
Straight line speed charts, it seems that Coulthard and Villeneuve actually have the same straight line speed of a 296.8. Wirtz a bit further down on 290, as these 3 drivers really giving it their all in their battle for the minor points placings.
The question is, though, if Villeneuve set the speed in slipstream conditions, or Coulthard did it behind Villeneuve this time around. This could be a dividend factor as well, seeing as Coulthard doesn't gain that much on the straights. The ever-growing threat of Alexander Wurz gets more and more visible in the right rear mirror there.
2 laps to go for this trio of drivers, just over 1 lap to go for race leader Fernando Alonso as he now crosses the line to begin the final lap of the Malaysian Grand Prix. Can David Coulthard find any way through on Jacques Villeneuve? It's not been a very prosperous any prosperous chances of getting through, as there's Patrick Friesacker getting driver of the day here in Malaysia, and deservedly so. He's had a great drive from 26th on the grid all the way up to 12th place on the road, regardless of whether he was the highest ranked Bridgestone driver or not. He's had a great race so far, as there's Coulthard going wide, and Wurz, fortunately for the Scotsman, he's able to keep his place, but he also needs to keep his cool.
As Villeneuve seems to be the least hot-headed in this three-way battle currently, keeping both cars at bay, as Alonso is slowly approaching. As you said, he's 10 seconds around, 10 seconds behind, so he won't catch them in time for them to disrupt this battle. As we are heading on to the final lap for these three as well, with traffic approaching, but Fernando Alonso is now rounding the final corners to take his first victory of the season. I feel like his second race victory of his career?
I believe it's his third race victory of his career, as he now powers towards the final corner. He's had the measure on Jarno Trulli following at least around his gearbox failure. Michael Schumacher also fell to the wayside. Meanwhile, for Fernando Alonso and Renault, they're going to come out on top here in Kuala Lumpur to win the 2004 Malaysian Grand Prix. A great drive from him and his teammate Giorgio Pantano, with a spectacular drive to overcome the drivers that he had to contend with in this race. He had the measure on Raikkonen throughout this Grand Prix and finishes in second to make it a very tidy Renault 1-2. Kimi Raikkonen should be able to come home in third place in this Grand Prix and collect his first podium of the season. It's not quite the race win that he was hoping to get in Australia following his pole position, but it's a good way to start the season. 2 consecutive decent results for the Flying Finn as he crosses the line in third position. What about this battle then for 5th place? Montoya should be able to come home in 4th. But what about this battle for 5th? I'm not exactly sure which way it's going to fall, but Villeneuve, I believe, has got enough of a gap through these final couple of corners to hold off David Coulthard. Coulthard, though, with a good exit out the final penultimate corner, apologies, as the last chance here for him now towards the final corner. Wurz is looking very hungry for an overtake, as is David Coulthard. He's tried to lunge it up the inside of Villeneuve with no effect. Villeneuve should be able to hold on for 5th place and does so. A great result for him and the Toyota team, with David Coulthard in 6th, Alex Wurz in 7th, and Felipe Massa picking up his and Red Bull's first points of the season. Mark Webber just missing out in 9th, and Dan Weldon completing the top 10. Another frustrating race for Ralf Schumacher in 11th, followed by Patrick Friesacker in 12th. Pitsonia, D'Amata, Trellier and De La Rosa were the 16 classified finishers. 10 retirements from this Grand Prix, including Heidfeld, Sperrifico, Jenson Button, and big names such as Michael Schumacher, Jarno Trulli, and Rubens Barrichello. We also saw a staller at the start of the race with Nicolas Manassian. That's going to be the Malaysian Grand Prix then. If you enjoyed the stream, make sure to like the stream and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future streams in the future. Yep, that's great English from me. Let me get the link for the Discord.
Montoya is heading to his pit box. Bootsmania is running wide, as it seems in the chat as well.
Hello Chris, welcome in. You've just missed the race, unless you were watching, of course, lurking, in which case welcome in either way. And that's going to be all from me in today's stream. Like I say, if you want to check out more of this this series and you want to find out information early, be sure to check out the Discord. So that's going to be all from me in today's stream, and that's going to be all from Nils.
Definitely. Bit sad that Hartford retired, but here we go. Yes.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for everyone joining the stream today, and that's going to be all from me. Goodbye.
Goodbye.